Chapter 1727. Blood Guanyin said, "The civilization of the Daryu Empire is different from the civilization of the constellation Ocean. It is a unified civilization. The Eastern Imperial family, as the successor of the Daryu Empire's creator, governs the entire civilization. It was equivalent to the civilization of the Daryu Empire being completely controlled by a huge force. Every emperor of the Eastern royal family was wise and magnanimous. Generation after generation, they encouraged the citizens under their jurisdiction to do anything that was beneficial to the Daryu Empire. They promoted the continuous development and strengthening of the empire's civilization. As a result, the Daryu Empire rose from a starless civilization to a two-star civilization. In order to encourage the people of the empire to do things that are beneficial to the Daryu Empire, the Eastern Imperial family specially created the contribution ranking, which is divided into the Heaven, Earth, Black, and Yellow lists. Blood Guanyin said, "Anyone who has done something beneficial to the civilization of the Daryu Empire can enter the contribution ranking. The lowest is the Yellow ranking, which only records the first 20,000 people. The highest is the Heaven ranking. Those who are recorded on it have all made historical contributions to the rise and fall of the civilization of the Daryu Empire," Blood Guanyin said. "And we only need to enter the Yellow ranking to get what we want. The empire will reward those who enter the Yellow ranking. For example, the contribution hall of the Daryu Empire. You can exchange it for anything you want. Even if you want to become a disciple of a strong person, as long as your contributions reach a certain level, the Daryu Empire will definitely do it for you. So, if we can enter the Yellow ranking, we can ask the Daryu Empire to extend our stay." Suyu said calmly, "You said that the Yellow ranking only records the people of the Daryu Empire. We are foreign residents, so we can't enter the Yellow ranking, right? Haha, this is the wisdom of the emperors of the Daryu Empire. The Daryu Empire also welcomes foreign residents to make contributions. We are also qualified to enter the Yellow ranking." Suyu listened and said, "You want me to make some contributions to enter the Yellow ranking?" "Yes." Blood Guanyin looked at Suyu with a smile. Suyu spread his hands. "In the vast Daryu Empire, there are as many strong people as there are clouds, and there are as many talented people as there are carps in the river. Being ranked 20,000 on the contribution ranking might seem like a backward position, but to be able to enter the top 20,000, one must have made great contributions. One must at least be a famous person to be qualified to fight for the Yellow ranking." Unexpectedly, Shui Guanyin laughed and said, "A famous person? Haha, there are 3 kings in the 10 great countries of the empire who are not on the Yellow list. A king was personally conferred by the Eastern royal family. He was in charge of a region on behalf of the royal family and had a high status and power. Out of the 10 kings, 3 have not entered the Huang ranking. Even such figures might not have a 100% chance of entering the Huang list, let alone ordinary people. The difficulty of entering the Huang list was beyond imagination. Then why are you still counting on me?" Suyu couldn't understand. Blood Guanyin chuckled and said, "That's why you have a chance." "Oh." Suyu was suspicious. Shui Guanyin said, "The Daryu Empire is an ambitious civilization that actively develops civilizations. It is very passionate about communicating with other advanced civilizations. However, the language barrier between civilizations is the greatest obstacle. Therefore, the Daryu Empire treats those who are proficient in the languages of the foreign races very well. If you're able to teach the Daryu Empire a high-level civilized language, it would definitely be a contribution that would alarm the Eastern royal family. It would be more than enough for you to enter the Yellow roll. That's it." Suyu realized how important it was to be proficient in all kinds of alien languages in the Great Beginning Realm. "Unfortunately, I don't understand the language of advanced civilizations," Suyu said with a shrug. The lesson of the Flood Dragon Emperor was right in front of him. How could Suyu casually expose his talent in the alien languages? Blood Guanyin was stunned. "Why are you doing this?" Judging by how Suyu could easily manipulate the Heavenly Wings clan's meteor manipulation technique, he was definitely proficient in high-level alien languages. Just as she was about to persuade him, Suyu said, "There's more than one way to enter the Huang list." "Huh?" Blood Guanyin was shocked. Apart from using the alien languages, Blood Guanyin couldn't understand what other way Su Yu could enter the Huang list. The difficulty of entering the Huang list was no less than taking first place at the ancient dream altar again. What method? Empress Ziwei was very curious. Apart from the alien languages, what other amazing methods did Su Yu have? Su Yu spat out the word. Empress Ziwei and Blood Guanyin were stunned. Buy a spot on the Huang list. How precious is a spot on the Huang list? Would someone sell it? The three of them found it hard to believe. Su Yu calmly said, "There are no deals in this world that cannot be made, only unequal bargaining chips. As long as we can offer enough attractive benefits, someone will naturally help us enter the Huang list." Su Yu's lips curled into a mysterious smile. A few days later, in the northern territory of the Great Yu dynasty, shocking news was spreading wildly in the black market. A mysterious outsider had exchanged a 10,000-year-old golden flames forbidden wood the length of his arm for a spot on the Huang list. The reason why the news was spreading wildly was not because someone was asking for a spot on the Huang list. Similar transactions had always existed in the black market. The reason for the frenzy was the 10,000-year-old golden flames forbidden wood. Normally, the golden flames forbidden wood would never live past 100 years. A 10,000-year-old one was unheard of. The item's demon-suppressing effect was fatally attractive to the divine warriors of heaven and earth. In addition, the market was extremely rare. Although the Great Yu civilization was vast, the number of times the golden flames forbidden wood had appeared was countless. In an instant, the black market in the northern territory was boiling over. In an inn somewhere in the fief, Su Yu was calmly cultivating. Empress Ziwei, Blood Guanyin, and the Heartless Saber Emperor were restless. It was crazy. In just a few days, the communication jade scroll Su Yu had left in the black market was filled with all kinds of messages. Without exception, they were all about the golden flames forbidden wood. Some asked about its origins, some were willing to buy it at a high price, and some promised to help them enter the Huang list. Although they had not left the inn, they could occasionally feel some powerful probing eyes scanning the surroundings. Obviously, they had become the targets of the people in the black market. Empress Ziwei was a little angry. "Su Yu, look at you now. You haven't even made it to the Huang list, but you've gotten yourself into trouble." In fact, what annoyed her the most was that Su Yu had turned a deaf ear to someone who was willing to discuss a deal. 10 days had passed, and the messages in the Jade Scroll had only increased. But Su Yu's attitude was still unhurried. Finally, Empress Ziwei could not hold it in any longer and said seriously, "Su Yu, can you tell us what you are planning? 1/3 of the month has passed, but you are still not talking to the person who sent the message. We don't have time to delay." Blood Guanyin also cast an inquiring look. She was very willing to believe in Su Yu, but the current situation forced her to be anxious. As for the Heartless Saber Emperor, he was already on the verge of losing his patience and wanted to act alone. Only then did Su Yu stop cultivating and say, "I'm waiting for someone." "Who?" Empress Ziwei raised her brows. "Someone who is really qualified to give me the right to enter the Huang list," Su Yu said calmly. Beep beep. At that moment, another message came from the Jade Scroll. Empress Ziwei glanced at it and was a little surprised. "It's the housekeeper of the Beishan mansion. As the housekeeper of the Beishan mansion, he is a righteous person on the surface, but he has the guts to participate in black market transactions. Isn't he afraid of being punished by the Beishan mansion?" Chapter 1728. Yes, the person he was waiting for was Prince Beishan. The area where the 10 kings of the Dayu Empire resided was under the jurisdiction of Prince Beishan. In the fief, Prince Beishan was one of the people who had the ability to help them enter the yellow list. Perhaps other influences could do it, but Prince Beishan was the only one they could trust. "Let's go and meet Prince Beishan." Su Yu finally stopped his training and stood up. Empress Ziwei's eyes shone. "Meet him? You mean the butler is under Prince Beishan's orders?" After thinking about it carefully, Empress Ziwei's eyes gradually brightened. No wonder a mere butler dares to participate in the black market trade. So that's why. Empress Ziwei suddenly understood. That butler was here on behalf of Prince Beishan. Soon, in the most famous tea house in the Fief City, Forgotten Dust Pavilion. Forgotten Dust Pavilion was built by the second son of Prince Baishan, Bai Wang Chen. Bai Wang Chen was highly respected, and he was one of Prince Baishan's favorite sons. Many people thought he would inherit Prince Baishan's crown in 300 years. Many strong men from all over the world had visited him, hoping to be his guest behind the scenes. Once Bai Wang Chen ascended to the throne, they would become veterans and receive endless benefits. Unfortunately, Bai Wang Chen was very strict in selecting his guests. Many glazed crystal overlords came to visit him, but they couldn't even meet him. Even some peak overlords were rejected by Bai Wang Chen. It was precisely because of this that the Forgotten Dust Pavilion that he had established by himself would often gather experts from all over the world who were depressed and frustrated. Rumor had it that Bai Wang Chen would occasionally come to the Forgotten Dust Pavilion to discuss the world with the heroes of the world. The strong men who came here hoped to meet Bai Wang Chen and be chosen by him. When they arrived at the Forgotten Dust Pavilion, it was not as lively as they had imagined. Instead, it was cold and desolate. There were only a few customers in the tea house, sipping tea from time to time. It was different from what they had imagined. However, all of those customers were strong men. The weakest were silver overlords, and the strongest were glazed crystal overlords. They were the customers who had been waiting for Bai Wang Chen. However, they were late. Bai Wang Chen had just come a few days ago, and it would be a long time before he came again. That was why the tea house was so cold today. That housekeeper has chosen an interesting place, Suyu said indifferently. There was no doorman guarding the tea house, so anyone could enter. But it was precisely because of this that those without sufficient strength would absolutely not rashly step foot into it. As soon as he entered the tea house, all the customers were potential competitors. In an inn full of powerhouses, those without sufficient strength entering was no different from courting death. Just the powerful pressure emitted by a powerhouse was enough to make an ordinary person suffer. When Su Yu and the other three entered, they immediately felt several sharp and vigilant gazes. A powerful pressure came from all directions. Empress Ziwei was not afraid at all. She snorted coldly and dispersed the pressure. Blood Guanyin was also fearless. She casually waved her sleeves and her expression returned to normal. The heartless saber monarch's footsteps also swayed, but he quickly stabilized his body. However, Su Yu, whose cultivation was the lowest, walked in as if nothing had happened. As Su Yu possessed the heavenly orchid silver bamboos fruit, any pressure that landed on his body would be absorbed and would not affect him in the slightest. According to the housekeeper, Su Yu was waiting in box 3. A box was a symbol of status. Not everyone had the qualifications to book a box in the Forgotten Dust Pavilion. Many glazed crystal overlords did not even have the qualifications to enter a box. When they arrived at box 3, there was already a waiter waiting at the door. "May I ask who you are?" the waiter asked. Su Yu took out the jade talisman with the housekeeper's message and said, "A guest." After a round of inspection, the waiter opened the door to the box, revealing a friendly and amiable smile. "Please enter." Su Yu and the others entered and saw a young woman of about 18 years of age sitting calmly in the box. She had an oval face, almond-shaped eyes, a sharp nose, and red lips. She was dressed in plain clothes, like an ordinary mortal creature. Her appearance could not be considered beautiful, and her temperament was not outstanding. Her age was also much different from the housekeeper in Su Yu's imagination, but her entire person gave off an indescribable sense of comfort. Her eyes were facing the door, and she looked up immediately. She said calmly, "Please take a seat." Su Yu secretly sized up the woman. With a casual glance, he could not see through the woman's cultivation. However, Empress Ziwei's pupils shrank. Although she was exceptionally arrogant, there was a hint of surprise on her face. No one would have expected that the housekeeper of the Baishan King's mansion would be a young girl. She went straight to the point and asked directly, "Where is the item?" Su Yu took out a crystal. The young girl frowned slightly. "Are you teasing me? Before you speak, you might as well take a look at the crystal first," Su Yu said. The young girl hesitated for a moment, then grabbed the crystal and touched it with her delicate little finger. Immediately, an image burst forth. In the image, Su Yu held a piece of golden flames forbidden wood in his hand, put it into a storage device, and then buried the storage device underground. The image stopped abruptly, but it did not show where exactly it was. The young girl's slightly furrowed brows relaxed, and she raised her eyes to look at Su Yu. As expected, you are cautious. With Su Yu's cautiousness, it was naturally impossible for him to bring the golden flames forbidden wood with him to visit in person. After all, one of the parties to the transaction was the powerful Bashan king's mansion. What if the Bashan king's mansion killed him and robbed him? However, you can rest assured that the Bashan king's mansion has always valued fairness. Since you really have the rumored item in the black market, then what should be given to you will naturally be given to you, the young girl said concisely. After that, she immediately clapped her hands. Come in. Swish. The light and shadow behind her suddenly distorted, and a transparent figure slowly appeared. Seeing this, Su Yu's pupils constricted. Space distortion? That transparent figure was a space divine path expert. Empress Ziwei's expression changed, and she said cautiously, a half-step divine warrior of heaven and earth. The distorted transparent figure ignored them and bowed to the young girl. The young girl said indifferently, give them the prepared item. Plop. The distorted figure nodded, and with a flick of his finger, a bloody, hideous head floated in the air in front of Su Yu's dead body. It was a creature that exuded extreme evil energy. Even though it was dead, its pale eyes still lingered with ferocious energy, making people feel extremely uneasy. What was even more shocking was that, judging from the purity of the remaining divine energy in the head, it was also a half-step divine warrior of heaven and earth. When he saw the true face of the head, Su Yu was slightly moved. The 100th wanted criminal of the Dayu civilization, Xielang? Xielang had been famous for a long time. As early as 60,000 years ago, his name had shaken the Dayu Empire. He plotted to capture a princess of the Eastern royal family, and after deceiving her, he refined her into a special human-shaped elixir and ate it. With that, he broke through the shackles and leaped from a peak overlord to a half-step divine warrior of heaven and earth. At that time, the emperor of the empire was furious and ordered Xielang to be captured and killed. However, Xielang was very cautious, good at sensing, and extremely cunning. The empire had organized 3 assassination operations involving the divine warriors of heaven and earth, but Xielang had successfully escaped each time. Now, 60,000 years had passed, and he was still at large. From time to time, he would commit evil deeds, and his methods were bloody and cruel. Unexpectedly, Xielang was dead. Who killed him? Even the divine warriors of heaven and earth had failed to kill him. The person who could kill Xielang must be very powerful. As a wanted criminal of the 100th rank, if you carry his head, you will be able to enter the top 10,000 of the yellow list. The young lady said, we have fulfilled your request. So, where is the golden flames forbidden wood buried? Su Yu placed the evil wolf's head in the wooden box calmly, then passed it to Shueguanin. Only then did he say, they can leave first. I will stay behind. After they successfully deliver the head to the contribution Great Hall, I will inform you. The young lady was a little displeased. You do not trust the Bashan manor? Su Yu's gaze flickered. I do not trust you. The Bashan manor was trustworthy, but the housekeeper of the manor might not. The young lady sighed. All right, please hurry. Shueguanin hesitated for a moment, then took the head. Once it is done, I will inform you immediately. Once the 4 of them successfully entered the yellow list, it would be useless for the young lady to regret her decision. The Contribution Palace was a direct organization of the Dayu Empire. It was located in any of the fiefdoms. Even the kings had no authority to interfere. Shueguanin and the others carried the head and went to report. Su Yu, Shueguanin, Empress Ziwei, and the Heartless Saber Emperor worked together to kill Xielang. The Contribution Palace would evaluate their contributions and determine their ranking. Inside the private room, Su Yu waited calmly. The young lady closed her eyes, not saying another word. She pretended that Su Yu was not in the room. Su Yu could not be bothered to speak. He waited quietly. Not long after, Shueguanin's message came. They had successfully entered the yellow list. All right, The deal is complete, Suyu said. The young lady opened her eyes. Where is the golden flames forbidden wood? Suyu smiled. I don't have it. Slap, the young lady slammed her palm on the table. You dare trick me? Or do you think it will be difficult for the Baishan Manor to kill 4 foreign residents? Ha ha. Suyu laughed. He took out a piece of golden flames forbidden wood and placed it on the table. He then left. He had not hidden it anywhere. It had been on him all along. That crystal from before was just a decoy. The young lady was stunned. She could not wrap her head around it. She muttered to herself, the most dangerous place is the safest place. No one would think that he would carry the golden flames forbidden wood with him, right? Even she was not an exception. 7th princess, this person is teasing you. Do you want me to? The distorted figure said in a deep, hoarse, and powerful voice. The young lady shook her head. She held the golden flames forbidden wood. This person is interesting. It would be a pity to kill him. What's more, his cultivation is too low. He could not become Brother Wangchen's guest. It would be a pity to abandon him. It would be tasteless. The young lady sighed. The distorted figure mocked. If this person knew that he had missed the chance to become Prince Chenyu's guest, would he be troubled and depressed for the rest of his life? Shaking her head, the young lady said, let's go. Leave the golden flames forbidden wood to Brother Wangchen. Let's go see his new guest. Xielang was killed by this person alone. It's amazing. The distorted figure nodded. He is indeed a rare talent. I remember that his name is Zhong Wushuang. The young lady nodded and floated away. In the contribution hall, Shui Guanyin and the other 2 had finally seen Suyu. Here, for you. Shui Guanyin handed Suyu an identity nameplate made of special minerals. The name Suyu was engraved on it. The word Huang was engraved on the back. It was a yellow-ranked identity nameplate. Haha, we are now the most valued top 10,000 contributors of the Dayu Empire. Shui Guanyin was pleased. We can exchange for many things in the contribution hall. Let's try it now. Empress Ziwei had been looking forward to it for a long time. She went straight to the exchange office in the contribution hall. There were not many people at the exchange office. Everyone could be seen clearly at a glance. Empress Ziwei immediately noticed a familiar figure. It's you. Empress Ziwei's expression was cold. The person looked old and was dressed in a black robe. He was the inspection officer at the entrance of the Dayu Empire. Hearing something strange, the black-robed elder turned his head and immediately recognized Empress Ziwei and the others. She was so beautiful that it was easy for people to remember her. The black-robed elder was not surprised to see them here. He looked at the 4 of them and said, "You will be expelled in 5 days. Don't do anything stupid." Empress Ziwei was furious. Isn't it all your fault? If not for him, they would have left for the Great Void Sect long ago. Why would they wait until now? Ha ha. The black-robed elder laughed disdainfully and ignored her. He walked forward lazily and took out a black token. The word Xianji was engraved on it. It was his lifeblood. The black token was an ordinary contribution nameplate outside the heaven, earth, profound, and yellow contribution halls. Senior, you are an honorable high-grade black iron contributor with 3,000 contribution points. What would you like to exchange for? The shopkeeper at the exchange office was very polite. As a contribution hall branch, most of the people here were low-grade black iron contributors. A small number were mid-grade black iron contributors. High-grade black iron contributors were few and far between. Xianji was a top-notch VIP. Exchange for 2 heavenly essence pills, Xianji said calmly. His expression was calm, but it was not hard to hear his sense of superiority. The people nearby also looked at him enviously. As expected of Lord Xianji. Heavenly essence pills are high-grade divine pills that can only be exchanged for 100 contribution points, and he got 2 at once. Sigh, he is one of the top 1,000 contributors in the Northern Envelope Land. He can rank in the top 100,000 in the entire Dayu Empire. Such a big shot can casually exchange for some heavenly essence pills. After successfully exchanging for 2 heavenly essence pills, The black-robed elder walked out with his hands clasped behind his back. As he passed by Su Yu and the others, he glanced at them out of the corner of his right eye. His disdain could not be stronger. Empress Ziwei could not hold it in any longer, but she obeyed Su Yu's warning and did not act recklessly. Rolling her eyes, Empress Ziwei strode to the counter. She held the nameplate in her hand and slammed it on the counter. "I heard that you can exchange for anything at the exchange office?" The shopkeeper said expressionlessly, "This is only for the contributors of the 4 great lists. Ordinary contributors have limited exchanges." His attention was still focused on Xianji, who had yet to leave. He did not notice that Empress Ziwei had casually replied to him with the nameplate she had slammed. "Fine, I want to exchange for one thing now." Empress Ziwei laughed coldly. "I want you to remove that old thing, Xianji, from his official position." Actually, she could have asked the contribution hall to punish him. Why did she only ask for his official position to be removed? She probably had other plans. The shopkeeper came to his senses and shouted angrily, "Shut up, don't offend." Chapter 1729. Yellow List. The shopkeeper was shocked. The Huang ranking, one of the 4 major contribution rankings. With a shiver, the shopkeeper immediately walked around the counter and bowed respectfully. "Greetings, my lord." All those who entered the Huang rankings were people who had made great contributions to the Dayu dynasty. They had extraordinary statuses and were revered by others. A small shopkeeper was naturally a level lower in front of a yellow roll examiner. The corners of Empress Ziwei's lips curled upwards. "How about it? Do I have the qualifications to fulfill the requirements I just mentioned?" The shopkeeper revealed an awkward expression and said hesitantly, "Sir, can you change your request?" Empress Ziwei raised her brows, and her expression turned cold. "What? How could the contribution hall reject the request of a Huang ranking contributor? Is it because I'm an extraterrestrial being?" "No, I wouldn't dare, it's just that." The shopkeeper was in a difficult position. How could Xianji not have a backer if he was able to become an important immigration inspector? He was the son of Prince Beixin, one of the guests behind the scenes of Bei Wang Chen. Gutfgurkeljkjhj8ui6, y equals Juoi 90 Empress Ziwei sneered coldly. Rumor has it that the Great Yu civilization's monarch is trying his best to rule the Great Yu civilization and invited beings from other civilizations to contribute. It turns out that he only wants them to contribute and doesn't allow them to exchange for the rewards they deserve. What a joke. I will publicize this matter and let the living beings from the outside see the true face of the Great Yu civilization. Hearing this, the manager immediately begged for mercy. "Madam, please spare this lowly officer. Please don't. If I cause any repercussions and the dynasty investigates this matter, even if I have 10 heads, it will not be enough." The Dayu Empire, which prided itself on welcoming living beings from other civilizations, had the scandal of the yellow roll contributors not being able to exchange for their items. What would the other living beings from other civilizations think? Once it caused a bad influence, as the main culprit, the shopkeeper would definitely be held accountable by the Eastern royal family. "Then what are you waiting for?" Empress Ziwei flicked the nameplate with her finger and said coldly. The shopkeeper bitterly clenched his teeth and looked at Xianji. "Please wait." Xianji had already walked to the entrance of the redemption hall, and he heard everything that was happening behind him. Knowing that Su Yu and the other 3 had become members of the yellow list after 10 days, they were as shocked as they could be. However, Xianji was enraged when he heard Empress Ziwei's request. Turning his head, Xianji scolded angrily, "I'm Dynasty's prosecutor, responsible for the peace of Dynasty. I've been working diligently for many years and have made countless contributions to Dynasty. You're just a barbarian from a non-star civilization. What right do you have to remove me from my position?" Empress Ziwei ignored him and stared at the shopkeeper. "What are you waiting for?" The shopkeeper sighed helplessly and said with an indifferent expression on his face, "Xianji, as the exchange officer of the Contribution Points Exchange Office, I'm informing you that due to the request of the 1030th Huang leaderboard member, you have to submit your resignation within 5 days. Scram. Xianji was so angry that his face turned red. "I'm a meritorious subject of the Dayu Empire. What right does a foreign barbarian have to decide my fate? The position of prosecutor was an official position that he had worked hard to obtain. Because of this, who knew how many grudges had been formed and how great of a price had they paid? But now, it was like a bolt from the blue. His official position was actually revoked. The shopkeeper frowned. The prestige of the contribution hall cannot be challenged. He returned to the counter and opened the huge communication crystal ball hidden deep inside the counter. He sent a message into it. The contribution hall of the Duke of Beishin's fief requests to forcefully execute the request of the 1030th Huang leaderboard member and remove Xianji from all his official positions. This crystal ball was directly connected to the Eastern royal family. There were members of the royal family who were responsible for handling such information. Xianji was enraged. How dare you, crack! Almost at this moment, a muffled sound came from Xianji's chest. He stretched out his hand and took out a nameplate that had shattered into thumb-sized pieces. That was his official nameplate. Now that it had shattered, it meant that he had been stripped of his official position as the border prosecutor. In just a few breaths, Xianji was personally removed from his official position by the Eastern royal family. Xianji was at a loss. He had a feeling that everything was unreal. He almost suspected that he was dreaming. Honorable Lord, what other requests do you have? The shopkeeper cast a pitiful gaze at Xianji. In the Dayu civilization where contributions were king, whoever contributed more would be the undefeatable king. With a single thought, one could control the fate of a low-level contributor. Xianji could get whatever he wanted in the Beishan monarch's fief, but so what? A yellow roll contributor could take away his most precious official position with a single thought. Empress Ziwei sneered coldly. So this old thing is just a normal citizen? Yes. The shopkeeper replied. Empress Ziwei clenched her fists and bumped them together. A cold smile appeared on her face. Then, as an outsider, attacking him is not against any of the Dayu civilization's laws. This. The shopkeeper was surprised. Yes. Xianji came to his senses and happened to hear this. He was enraged. Barbarian, what else do you want? She had stripped him of his official position, yet she still wanted to attack him. She was going too far. However, he had never thought about how he had gone too far when he had made things difficult for them when he had just entered the realm. Hihi, you keep calling me a barbarian. As a barbarian, I really want to see just how strong a civilized person like you is. Empress Ziwei raised her brows as she quickly formed a seal with her hands. Meteorite ice tribulation, an icy planet wrapped in terrifying cold air descended with a loud rumble. Xianji laughed angrily. A mere golden overlord dares to attack me? You overestimate yourself. He formed a seal with his hands and also unleashed a powerful divine technique. Pound the two techniques collided and annihilated each other. Xianji abruptly retreated 3 steps and spat out a mouthful of divine blood. The divine blood was completely frozen, just like his body, which was covered in frost. Shock appeared in his eyes. He had unleashed his full power, but he was injured instead. Barbarian, no wonder you dare to be so arrogant. So you have something to rely on, Xianji shouted. But so what? What can you do to me? However, a mocking smile appeared on Empress Ziwei's face as she said in a low voice, explode. Boom. The fragments of the icy star, which had already been destroyed, suddenly exploded. Terrifying cold air gushed out from within, pouring out in torrents. Xianji was caught off guard, and his entire body was frozen by the frost energy, turning him into an ice sculpture. Hehe, so this is a civilized person? Empress Ziwei walked over and said mockingly, you're nothing more than this. Piss off. Empress Ziwei shouted as she kicked the ice sculpture away. Bang! Xianji was kicked out of the palace and into the bustling market. The spectators were all shocked. That stunning woman, which star civilization did she come from? A golden overlord defeated a mystic crystal overlord like Xianji. Unbelievable. She's from a non-star civilization. How can this be? How did a non-star civilization give birth to such a powerful female prodigy? She's almost comparable to the 9 great void hidden dragons of Beishin territory. Great Void Hidden Dragon was the highest honor obtained by the younger generation of Bei-Shin territory. Every 100 years, the monarch of Bei-Shin's fief would select the 9 strongest prodigies and grant them the title of Great Void Hidden Dragon. Once they became a Great Void Hidden Dragon, they would be fought over by all the forces in the fief. Even the princes of the monarch of Bei-Shin would keep throwing olive branches at them. Empress Ziwei's performance was stunning, and she received unanimous approval. Xianzhi lost all face under everyone's gaze, and he shouted angrily, "A bunch of barbarians, just you wait, I'll make sure you all die a horrible death." As Bei Wangchen's guest behind the scenes, he believed that Bei Wangchen would not stand by and watch such humiliation. "Hey!" Ignoring the gazes of the crowd, Empress Ziwei returned. As she passed by Su Yu, she complained, "Why did you stand by and watch?" Su Yu replied calmly, "Isn't it enough for you to handle it alone?" In his eyes, a pair of silvery white pupils slowly disappeared, and no one paid attention to them. If Empress Ziwei had been in danger just now, he would have been the next one to strike. "Humph." Flicking her hair, Empress Ziwei said proudly, "I really wonder if your high combat power is real." Su Yu was speechless, and he walked to the counter silently. "I'd like to exchange for a 1-year stay." Su Yu took out his yellow list nameplate. The shopkeeper said respectfully, "Dear customer, according to the rules, foreign residents who obtain the yellow list nameplate will automatically renew their stay for 10 years, and there's no need to exchange for it again." "Is that so? That saves me some trouble." "All right." Su Yu waved his hand and led Empress Ziwei and the other 2 out of the contribution hall. They arrived at the remote inn where they usually stayed. Along the way, many unknown forces tailed them, but they managed to shake them off. Inside the inn, the 4 of them sat in a circle. Su Yu sighed. "We've wasted 10 days to get to the point. Everyone, please take out the jade pieces given to us by the Chief Pavilion Master." 4 jade pieces were taken out and placed together. The jade pieces contained information about the cauldron that the Chief Pavilion Master wanted. After reading the information, the expressions of the 4 of them changed, becoming very serious. Empress Ziwei was a little surprised. "The Chief Pavilion Master wants us to infiltrate the Taishu faction and steal their treasure, the Bei-Shin Royal Cauldron?" Rumor had it that the first emperor of the Eastern Kingdom built the Dayu civilization. In order to stabilize the fate of the nation, he gathered the stars of the 9 heavens and forged 10 royal cauldrons, which were distributed in the 10 great fiefdoms of the Dayu Empire. The royal cauldron in the Bei-Shin fiefdom was the Bei-Shin Royal Cauldron, which stabilized the fate of the nation. The Chief Pavilion Master wanted them to steal the cauldron? Needless to say, the importance of the 10 royal cauldrons was obvious. Each one was bound to be protected by a powerful force. It would be extremely difficult to steal the royal cauldrons. Xue Guanin's expression was a little ugly. Just reaching the Taishu faction is already fraught with danger, and the probability of success is extremely low. How is it possible for us to steal the royal cauldrons? The merciless Saber Emperor's face was as pale as paper. "The Bei-Shin Royal Cauldron. It's impossible. I once heard my father say that every royal cauldron is personally guarded by a king, and the strength of any king is no less than the divine warriors of heaven and earth." The merciless Saber Emperor was close to despair. "Unless we have the strength to fight the divine warriors of heaven and earth, there is no hope." Looking at the jade pieces, everyone remembered that the Chief Pavilion Master had each sealed one of his divine techniques in it. Now that they thought about it, it might have been used to steal the royal cauldrons. Su Yu also felt that it would be difficult, but he had promised the Chief Pavilion Master that he would do his best to help. "If we plan carefully, we might be able to succeed," Su Yu said. Empress Ziwei believed his words for no reason and blurted out, "What plan do you have?" When she came to her senses, she turned her face away and snorted. "Don't think I will believe you." Su Yu was already used to her attitude. He said to himself, "There is too little information at hand to plan in detail. I believe that once we reach the Taishu faction, there might be enough information to use." Blood Guanin's white and tender ears shook. Hearing that Su Yu was planning to plot again, she was a little excited. The Taishu faction is located in the southernmost part of the fief. There is a door that runs through the void and the Dayu Empire, so it is called the Taishu faction. Outside the door is the Dayu Empire, and inside the door is a lone island. The island is surrounded by nothingness, and only the Taishu faction can reach it. The lone island claims to be one entity, undisturbed by the outside world. It is extremely rich in spiritual objects, nurturing many powerful ferocious beasts, and also a powerful living creature, the bloodline of the Baishan king. Hearing this, Suyu suddenly understood. Behind the Taishu faction was the ancestral land of the Baishan king. It is said that the Baishan royal cauldron was placed on that lone island, guarded by the retired Baishan kings. Blood Guanyin explained everything she knew in detail. After listening, Suyu said, "Then let's go to the Taishu faction first, and then plot the royal cauldron behind the door." The four of them discussed it on the spot. There were only two ways to reach the Taishu faction. One was the Ghost Marsh, which people said was a place of no return. The other was the cloud ladder to the heavenly realm. The Ghost Swamp had existed for a very long time. Its birth was due to a huge internal strife in the past. The Great Yu civilization absorbed many foreign civilizations, and one of them was called the Green Ghost civilization. After tens of thousands of years, everyone thought that the Green Ghost civilization had been assimilated. Who would have thought that the leader of the Green Ghost civilization would lead the Green Ghost civilization to rebel, attempting to overthrow the Eastern royal family and take control of the entire Great Yu civilization? It turned out that the Green Ghost civilization had been plotting this ever since they joined the Great Yu civilization. They wanted to take over the Great Yu civilization and allow the Green Ghost civilization to digest the Great Yu civilization and become a 2.5-star civilization. They quickly occupied 1/3 of the Dayu Empire's territory, and their momentum was extremely great. The Eastern royal family mobilized the entire nation's power to besiege the Green Ghost civilization. In this battle, the terrifying foundation of the Eastern royal family was revealed. The Green Ghost civilization couldn't even withstand a single blow and was forced to retreat. The leader of the Green Ghost civilization, the Green Ghost Emperor, and the core members of the civilization were trapped in the 100,000 mountains and mercilessly suppressed by the Eastern royal family. Their corpses shattered, and their divine blood flooded the 100,000 mountains. As time passed, the divine blood corroded the 100,000 mountains, turning them into a muddy swamp. Occasionally, living creatures would pass by, and they would often hear horrifying ghost cries and see blurry ghostly shadows. Furthermore, very few of those who entered the swamp were able to return. Therefore, the swamp was called the Ghost Swamp. The Ghost Swamp was vast and covered almost half of the northern land. The Great Void Gate was located in the center of the Ghost Swamp. To travel on land, the only way was to cross the Ghost Swamp. The Cloud Ladder had an even more ancient origin. It was set up by the first king of the Great Yu civilization. It was a cloud ladder that led directly to the Great Void Gate. All the living creatures stepped on light clouds and headed to the Great Void Gate. Along the way, the cloud ladder would pass by an ancient city in the clouds. There were all kinds of unimaginable traps and dangerous places in the city. They were all set up by the first king of the Great Void Gate and were extremely powerful. Ordinary people couldn't pass through at all. Even the descendants of King Baishan might not be able to avoid all the traps. The degree of danger was no less than that of the Ghost Swamp. After analyzing the situation, Suyu and the other three chose to travel through the Ghost Swamp. The reason was simple. Compared to the traps and dangerous places, the dangers in the Ghost Swamp gave them more room to maneuver. Their combined strength was more suitable for the Ghost Swamp. After the discussion, the four of them set off immediately. However, as soon as they left the inn, they were stopped by a group of guards in embroidered robes. Suyu was familiar with one of them. "We meet again." A clear, elegant, and condescending voice fell into Suyu's ears. Suyu glanced at her and said, "Housekeeper of the King Baishin's mansion, why are you stopping us?" The young lady nodded. "I have a gift for you." She clapped her hands, and the distorted light figure appeared again, holding a wooden box with both hands. "This is for you." The young lady flicked her fingers, and the wooden box opened, revealing the item within. It was a fresh head that was dripping with blood. When the four of them saw the head, their pupils constricted at the same time. Chapter 1730. The girl shifted her gaze to Empress Ziwei, ignoring Su Yu. To be precise, the gift is for you, the girl said with a smile. Empress Ziwei's eyes were cold. I didn't kill him. Of course, if you want to frame me, I'll admit it. What do you want? Say it. A powerful aura was released from Empress Ziwei's body. She was fearless even though she was protected by a half-step emperor. Clap. Clap. The girl clapped her hands, her eyes full of praise. Your courage is commendable, and your strength is even rarer. I was wrong to not realize that you are such an expert. So? Empress Ziwei crossed her arms and said with hostility. The girl smiled. So, on behalf of Crown Prince Bei Wangchen, I invite you to join him. Hearing that, Blood Guanyin and Heartless Saber Emperor were shocked. In the past 10 days, they had fully understood Bei Wangchen's status in the fief. He was only one step away from being crowned as a king. All the strong men crowned as kings were willing to follow Bei Wangchen's orders, including the half-step emperor. However, Bei Wangchen was very picky, and few people could catch his eye. Hearing that Empress Ziwei was invited, they were shocked and envious, but also relieved. Perhaps the shocking potential she displayed when she defeated Xian Ji had alarmed the legendary Bei Wangchen, and he asked this butler to persuade her to join her. Such an olive branch was something that many top overlords in the fief wished for. However, Empress Ziwei's face was cold. She said lightly, "Then why did you kill Xian Ji?" The girl smiled. Bei Wangchen heard that Xian Ji offended you, so he asked him to come and apologize. Apologize with a head. Bei Wangchen was so cold. Empress Ziwei stared at the head and sneered. If I offend someone more outstanding than me one day, will Bei Wangchen send my head to him as an apology to please him? Bei Wangchen invited me to join him in such a way. Did he not use his brain? The girl was slightly startled. After a while, she sighed. You are a resident of an extraterrestrial civilization, so you don't understand Bei Wangchen's status in the fief. In other words, if it were someone else, they would have taken the same risk to join him. Empress Ziwei sneered. The young girl stared at her for a while, but didn't get an answer for a long time. She said, "So, you don't agree?" "I agree." To everyone's surprise, Empress Ziwei agreed. Blood Guanyin frowned. Empress Ziwei, you want to abandon the Sea of Constellations civilization? Heartless Saber Monarch panicked and asked, "Are you not going to the Gate of the Great Void?" The incident was so sudden that it truly caught everyone off guard. The young girl gave the distorted figure a meaningful glance, and the other party immediately released a pressure that was close to that of an emperor, enveloping Blood Guanyin and Heartless Saber Monarch, rendering them speechless. Your choice won't be wrong. The girl smiled brightly. Empress Ziwei said, "Wait, I have a request." "Speak." The young girl said. "I'm going to the Great Void Gate," Empress Ziwei said firmly. The young lady replied without hesitation, "No problem. Bei Wangchen will send a group of people to the Great Void Sect in the near future. You can join them." "Oh. Which way?" "Cloud Ladder." The young lady said slowly, "The bloodline of King Bei Xin knows many of the traps and dangers in the city amongst the clouds. It is far less dangerous than the Ghost Swamp." Empress Ziwei looked at Su Yu and said, "I want all three of them to join us." The young lady did not even look at Su Yu and the others, calmly saying, "This request cannot be fulfilled." "Why?" Empress Ziwei frowned. The young lady said, "Bei Wangchen only accepts useful people. Useless people are not worthy of Bei Wangchen's care, even if it is because of you." She spoke bluntly, not caring that Su Yu and the others were present. Both Blood Guanyin and Heartless Saber Monarch were furious. This woman. All right, I'm very happy to hear that. Empress Ziwei broke into a smile. Her cold face blossomed into a smile that stunned even the young lady. She looked at Su Yu provocatively. "Our paths will be different from now on. Goodbye, comrades, ha ha ha." After saying this, she followed the young lady and gradually disappeared into the crowd, not even looking back. The distorted figure looked at the three of them and said indifferently, "Go where you should go. She is no longer one of you." One had been chosen by a king from a 2.5-star civilization, while the other three remained the same. Their fates were just as Empress Ziwei had said. Their paths would be different from now on. With a swift movement, The distorted figure disappeared. With the pressure lifted, Shui Guanyin trembled with anger. That despicable ice woman betrayed us. The merciless Saber Emperor had a sorrowful expression. How are we going to explain this to the Sea of Constellations when we return? Empress Ziwei has betrayed us and joined the Great Yu civilization. Su Yu, who had been silent all this while, said after a moment of silence, "Let's go." Shui Guanyin said, "Aren't you angry?" "Angry about what?" Su Yu asked. "Angry that we were abandoned like useless trash?" "No." Shui Guanyin's eyes were filled with anger. In fact, this was the real reason she was angry. In the Sea of Constellations, she did not think much of it. Empress Ziwei was first, and she was second. Their treatment was not that different, and they were respected everywhere. But in the Great Yu civilization, the difference in treatment was immediately apparent. She was still the pride of the heavens, while Shui Guanyin was merely a useless person in the eyes of the housekeeper of the Beishan mansion. The great humiliation caused her to feel agitated. Su Yu calmly said, "The so-called pride of heaven is just a few steps ahead of the ordinary people. If you remain stubborn, you will be surpassed and left behind by the ordinary people sooner or later." Shui Guanyin bit her lip, her eyes misty. "Thank you, brother Su Yu. I understand." She had always relied on the natural blood lotus, and her vision had always been limited to the Sea of Constellations. She was satisfied with being second, and had never tried to surpass a higher level. On the other hand, Empress Ziwei was proud and arrogant. She had always tried to climb to a higher level, with no end in sight. If she wanted to surpass Empress Ziwei, she had to change. "Let's go, the plan remains the same. Cross the ghost swamp." Shui Guanyin nodded, her eyes burning with a strong will to fight. "Yes, it is time to change. I must be stronger than the traitor Empress Ziwei." Su Yu was silent, thinking to himself, "Traitor? I don't think so." He looked up at the sky, and a giant heavenly eye gradually disappeared. Under the heavenly eye, he could clearly see the peak overlords slowly retreating from all directions of the inn. Ambush from all directions. They were clearly not here to protect the young girl, but to surround her and prevent her from escaping. If Empress Ziwei had not agreed, the outcome would not have been so peaceful. If a genius could not be controlled by oneself, and could not fall into the hands of the enemy, the best solution was to eliminate her. Su Yu and the others would naturally be silenced as well. It was because she had sensed the ambush that the proud Empress Ziwei was willing to lower her head and be used by others. Su Yu's impression of her changed greatly. "Cloud ladder, I hope her journey goes smoothly," Su Yu said to himself. High above the clouds, the young girl stepped on a light cloud, flying side by side with Empress Ziwei toward Bei Wangchen's mansion. "Miss Ziwei, I believe your choice will make you feel blessed." At the mention of Bei Wangchen, the young girl's face involuntarily revealed a proud expression. Empress Ziwei pondered and did not respond. The young girl smiled sweetly. "Are you still thinking about your companions? To be honest, they do not deserve to be your companions. You are born to be superior to them." She was very certain of this. "Is that so?" Empress Ziwei said calmly. "You are very confident in yourself, including your judgment." The young girl said calmly, "Am I wrong? At least I found a talent like you who has the potential to ascend to the great void hidden dragon." He. Empress Ziwei laughed mockingly. "So, you actually know nothing." The young girl's face was calm, but she was a little displeased. "Miss Ziwei, if you have something to say, just say it." Empress Ziwei smiled. "I'm afraid you won't be able to accept it if I say it." "Say it." The young girl frowned. Empress Ziwei sneered. "What I want to say is, you really have no vision. Among the four of us, the most talented one is regarded as useless by you, yet you have to settle for me. How laughable, how pathetic." The young girl stared at Empress Ziwei. "Among the three of them, is there anyone stronger than you? The woman with the blood lotus under her feet, or the young man with the giant blade on his back?" Empress Ziwei couldn't be bothered to reply. The young girl said confidently, "If it's them, then it's a pity. The former is indeed not bad, but only not bad. As for the latter, forgive me for being blunt, he's just a good-for-nothing." Empress Ziwei said leisurely, You forgot about the last person. That slightly clever man. The young girl said disapprovingly, in my opinion, he's the most useless person among you. With the cultivation of a bronze overlord, doesn't he feel like he's a burden? Empress Ziwei couldn't help but laugh. So, you know nothing. His battle prowess is 10 times stronger than mine. The young girl's eyes widened. Are you sure you're not talking nonsense? Your strength is equivalent to an early-stage mystic crystal overlord. If he's 10 times stronger than you, doesn't that mean he's comparable to a peak overlord? Shaking her head, the young lady said in disbelief, I've seen demon-level geniuses before. Golden overlord cultivators have the strength of pinnacle overlords. It's not that I don't believe you, it's just that you're too crazy. Hee hee. Empress Ziwei smiled and said nothing. Her expression made the young girl skeptical. She pondered for a while and said, Go back and invite him here. The distorted figure beside her was about to move. Empress Ziwei smiled proudly. Little girl, do you think you're so smart? He doesn't know there are people lying in ambush everywhere. In his eyes, your little tricks are nothing more than the most inferior little tricks. Right now, he has already gone far away without leaving any traces. The young girl's expression turned slightly cold. She said coldly, What are you waiting for? Yes. The distorted figure disappeared and soon returned. He said, There are no traces left, including his aura. It was as Empress Ziwei said. The young girl was like a prideful lion that was provoked and finally became angry. She glared at Empress Ziwei. You didn't tell me earlier because you didn't sincerely join Bei Wangchen's background? Empress Ziwei snorted disdainfully. No one in my world can make me submit willingly. The Bei Wangchen you speak of is the same. You. The young girl was slightly angry. Ignorant woman, don't insult Bei Wangchen. His excellence is something you can only look up to. Hee hee. Empress Ziwei sneered nonchalantly. The young girl said coldly, Fine, there are many people like you who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. They used to look down on Bei Wangchen, but after seeing him with their own eyes, they all wholeheartedly submitted to him. You are no exception. Is that so? Empress Ziwei smiled proudly. Chapter 1731. 3 months passed by in a flash. Su Yu and the others used the bronze carriage to finally enter the Ghost Marsh after a long journey. The Ghost Marsh was filled with ghostly energy. From time to time, grotesque ghosts would appear, ready to devour anyone. Whoosh! Blood Guanyin took a deep breath. She waved her hand and recalled the 9 lotus seed clones. Compared to the lotus seed clones of the past, their cultivation levels were slightly stronger, and they were more adept with each other. Brother Su Yu, how is it? Blood Guanyin asked the bronze carriage. The bronze carriage door opened, and Su Yu stepped out. He looked at the corpses of the ghosts on the ground, pleased. 3 months of actual combat, and your abilities have improved a lot. After being provoked by Empress Ziwei, Blood Guanyin seemed to have become a different person. She was no longer as calm as before, and took the initiative to attack, fighting all kinds of ghosts alone. In the past 3 months, her fighting abilities had skyrocketed. Preliminary estimates indicated that she had reached 10,000 fighting points. Blood Guanyin's eyes shone with joy. She clenched her fists. This is far from enough. I have to continue working hard until I surpass that hateful Empress Ziwei. The heartless saber emperor pouted. What was a little bit of improvement? As long as he had the jade pendant from the chief cabinet master, no one could do anything to him unless he encountered a divine warrior of heaven and earth. Let's call it a day. Recuperate and digest what you have gained today. Leave the rest of the ghosts to me. Su Yu swiped his palm, retrieving a 3-foot-long sword burning with golden flames from his space ring. The body of the sword was densely covered in wooden veins, emitting a refreshing fragrance. It retained the characteristics of the original material, looking like it had just been forged. This was the new weapon Su Yu had forged in the past 3 months, the Golden Flames Forbidden Wood Sword. Unlike before, this Golden Flames Forbidden Wood Sword was made from the core of a 10,000-year-old Golden Flames Forbidden Wood. The ability to ward off demons and evil was 5 times stronger than the rest of the sword. Looking at the densely packed ghosts in front of him, Su Yu casually waved his sword. Revolving demonic moon style. A golden sword energy swept out like a crescent moon. The golden light illuminated the vast swamp ahead. The ghosts that poked their heads out were instantly wiped out by the golden light. In the blink of an eye, the path in front of the bronze carriage was flattened by the sword. Shui Guanyin said enviously, "Brother Su Yu is so powerful. The power of one sword is at least comparable to 3 of my divine techniques." Su Yu said, "I'm just relying on the special evil warding property of the golden flame's forbidden wood. It's not worth mentioning." After pausing for a moment, Su Yu said, "You must wear the protective bracelet that I gave you at all times. Ordinary ghosts won't be able to approach it easily." Hearing this, the Blood Guanyin raised her snow-white arm. A golden flame bracelet hung on it. Gold and white intersected, it was very dazzling. "I will treasure the gift from Brother Su Yu for the rest of my life," the Blood Guanyin said crisply. The bracelet was made by Su Yu using the remaining tree cores. His original intention was to give her some defense against sneak attacks from ghosts. Unexpectedly, Blood Guanyin misunderstood something. Cough, cough. "Let's continue moving forward. We should be able to reach the center of the ghost swamp soon. Once we pass through there, we will not be far from the Great Void faction." Su Yu changed the topic. As expected, Shui Guanyin's attention was diverted. Her expression turned solemn as she nodded. "Ien, we've encountered golden overlord level ghosts in the periphery of the ghost swamp. I'm afraid the central area is even more dangerous." Roar. Suddenly, the aftermath of a loud roar could be felt. Su Yu could clearly feel the quaking of the swamp, and layers of ripples appeared on the mud beneath his feet. The surrounding divine energy was being pushed away, causing the area covered by the aftermath to become a vacuum. The ghosts hidden deep within the swamp crawled out, fleeing behind Su Yu and the others. Panic quickly spread. Su Yu stared at the horizon. At that moment, a wave of scorching air assaulted him. It was air that had been dispersed from far away. In that wisp of air, Su Yu could smell the deep stench of blood, as well as a strange pressure. "It's a trace of the attack of a divine warrior of heaven and earth," the Blood Guanyin said. The originally lazy, heartless Saber Emperor shuddered. He immediately got up to investigate. How could there be a divine warrior of heaven and earth in the ghost swamp? If there really was such a huge threat, the Empire would have long sent an army to suppress it. It must have been an ancestor of the Empire who crossed the ghost swamp. Su Yu and the Blood Guanyin were silent. The most frightening thing about encountering danger was not the danger itself, but the mentality of the person in danger. Holding the attitude of a fluke, they lied to themselves. This kind of person would die the fastest. "Let's take a detour." Su Yu returned to the bronze carriage, choosing to take a detour. He tried his best not to come into contact with the unfamiliar divine warrior of heaven and earth. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. They should have reached the gate of Taishu, but because they had taken a detour around the central area, they had only just reached the periphery of the ghost swamp. They should have reached the gate of Taishu in another 2 months. Although we wasted 2 months, we did not encounter much danger. "It was worth it," Shui Guanyin said. Su Yu said, "Don't let your guard down, especially at the last moment." Roar. Their expressions changed when they heard the aftermath of that inexplicable roar again. Although they were very far away, and it would be difficult for the divine warrior of heaven and earth to arrive in such a short time, it was better to leave as soon as possible. Shui Guanyin's heart suddenly tensed up. "Brother Su Yu, why did I hear that roar again? Is it fighting someone, or is it looking for something?" "It should be the latter." Su Yu's expression darkened. He did not know who or what the divine warrior of heaven and earth was looking for 3 months, and he did not want to know. But just as the bronze chariot was moving forward, the space in front of the chariot suddenly shone brightly, and a giant space vortex appeared out of nowhere. A young man in a white robe fell out of the space vortex. His body was covered in injuries, the most serious being between his brows. A black steel needle had pierced through it, nailing his soul to the spot. His soul could not leave his body. The young man had delicate features, and he looked vaguely familiar. After he fell, he looked at the bronze chariot in surprise, then flew toward the gate of Taishu without hesitation. "Please wait, sir," Su Yu shouted. The young man turned his head to look. Not only did he not stop, but he also sped up to leave, his eyes filled with vigilance. If it were Su Yu, he would have made the same choice if he had fallen somewhere and been stopped by a stranger. Ah! Su Yu sighed, his eyes shining with a strange light. Space teleportation. The young man's surroundings flickered with red light. His expression changed, and he said in a low voice, "Space divine technique?" With a light grunt, the young man crushed a piece of jade, exploding with a strong space energy to resist the space energy surrounding him. Su Yu's face was calm, but the red light in his eyes suddenly intensified. The young man was immediately wrapped by the space energy and sucked in front of Su Yu. As soon as he appeared, the young man pointed 2 fingers at Su Yu without hesitation. Su Yu slid his shoulder lightly, avoiding the finger, and said lightly, "I mean you no harm." Releasing the space energy, the young man retreated 100 feet away, staring coldly at Su Yu. Although seriously injured, the young man's eyes were still sharp. "I have something to do, I can't stay. I know, you are being chased by the divine warrior of heaven and earth, right?" Su Yu said. The young man was even more vigilant. "Since you know, if you don't want to bring disaster upon yourself, leave quickly and don't bother me." Su Yu said, "It is precisely because I know that I asked you to stay." The young man's eyes flashed. "Do you have any advice?" Su Yu said calmly, "Being chased by the divine warrior of heaven and earth for 3 months and still unable to escape, I don't think you can really escape." The young man quieted down and listened quietly to Su Yu. "I can help you avoid being tracked," Su Yu said. The young man was very calm. "Why are you helping me?" Su Yu was a little helpless. "Your life and death are not worth a penny to me. What I care about is the life and death of me and my companions. If you continue to escape like this, the divine warrior of heaven and earth will inevitably chase you to this area. With the power of the divine warrior of heaven and earth, he will definitely notice our existence. I don't want to be implicated by you. After leaving this area, go as far as you can, and don't appear in front of us again," Su Yu said coldly. The young man was stunned. He thought he had met an exceptionally kind person, but he didn't expect it to be like this. "Why don't you come in quickly?" Su Yu said coldly. "With your ability to resist the divine warrior of heaven and earth for 3 months, you don't have to worry about us doing anything to you." The young man hesitated for a moment, tiptoed, and entered the carriage without saying a word. Su Yu immediately quietly created a rule to erase the young man's breath, and even the divine warrior of heaven and earth would not be able to detect it. Suddenly, the young man raised his eyebrows. "What did you do? How did you isolate the divine warrior of heaven and earth from sensing me?" He suddenly realized that the divine warrior of heaven and earth's lock on him had been blocked. "Cut the crap. Sit tight." Su Yu did not hesitate at all and drove the bronze carriage away. Behind him, the continuous roars of the divine warrior of heaven and earth could be faintly heard. Obviously, it was a little angry that it had lost its target. After driving for 2 months, there were no more roars of the divine warrior of heaven and earth, so Su Yu stopped the bronze carriage. "Get off," Su Yu said. The young man who was healing opened his eyes. His body's injuries had basically recovered, but the black steel needle between his eyebrows was extremely difficult to pull out. He was startled. "We're almost at the Taishu gate, and you're letting me go now? Why can't I let you go?" Su Yu asked. "I've done my best to send you here. You'd better take care of yourself from now on." The young man said awkwardly, "There's only 1 month left. Why don't you send me to the Taishu gate?" Su Yu shook his head. "You and I met by chance. It's better to keep a little distance. It's good for you and for me." He didn't want to enter the Taishu gate with a mysterious person of unknown origin. If their plan to steal the Baishan king's tripod was leaked and the Baishan bloodline in the Taishu gate found out, it would be fun. "Well, with my identity, I don't have any ulterior motives against you and a few foreign civilizations, do I?" The young man was a little helpless. Shui Guanyin said softly, "You've been chased all over the place. What identity do you have? Do you think you're the Prince of Baishan, Bei Wangchen?" Her words were extremely rude. "Ah!" The young man cupped his fists and smiled bitterly. "Although I'm not Bei Wangchen, I'm still the Prince of Beishan. I'm the 9th Prince, Bei Wangting. What? Shui Guanyin was stunned. Say that again, who are you? The 9th Prince of Beishanland, Bei Wangting. There was dead silence in the bronze carriage. Chapter 1732. Seeing their shocked expressions, Bei Wangting laughed self-deprecatingly. The world only knows Bei Wangchen. No one knows an unknown prince like me. Duke Beishan had 4 sons and 5 daughters. The most famous one was Bei Wangchen. When Bei Wangchen was mentioned, everyone only thought of Bei Wangchen. As for the other princes and princesses, no one mentioned them. Shui Guanyin questioned, why would the Prince of Duke Beishan end up like this? Furthermore, didn't the Duke of Beishan use the cloud stairs? Why would you take the Ghost Marsh route? The Duke of Beishan knew about the traps and dangers of the city amongst the clouds. That route was far less dangerous than the Ghost Marsh. I fell from the city amongst the clouds. Bei Wangting's eyes were filled with hatred. Shui Guanyin's gaze shifted. Did something happen in the city amongst the clouds? Yes. Evil creatures invaded the city amongst the clouds, surrounding and killing the Duke of Beishan. Bei Wangting frowned. The black steel needle between his brows looked exceptionally ferocious. Shui Guanyin asked, what were the casualties? Very tragic. Bei Wangting sighed deeply, clenching his fists. 3rd sister, 4th brother, 5th brother, and 8th sister all died in battle. For out of the 9 princes and princesses had fallen. Su Yu's expression changed. What were the evil creatures trying to do? Duke Beishan would surely be furious after losing 2 sons and 2 daughters. Who would have thought that the seemingly ordinary trip to the Taishu faction would encounter such a sudden change? What about Bei Wangchen? And his followers? Shui Guanyin's eyes were filled with anticipation. Him? He. Bei Wangting let out a complicated laugh. Who in the world can deal with Bei Wangchen? He is fine, and his followers are unharmed. A look of disappointment flashed across Shui Guanyin's eyes. She had hoped that the traitor Empress Ziwei would get what she deserved. What a pity. Shui Guanyin wrinkled her nose. Is the one chasing you an evil spirit? Yes. Bei Wangting said. An evil spirit at the level of a divine warrior of heaven and earth. What kind of creatures are they? Shui Guanyin asked curiously. An unknown divine warrior of heaven and earth under the control of the Dayu Empire wantonly slaughtered the children of the princes. Bei Wangting said in a low voice. It's the remnants of the Green Ghost civilization. Su Yu was listening from the side. His face was calm, and he wasn't surprised. Other than the remnants of the Green Ghost civilization, there was no other possibility for someone to have such a powerful foundation and dare to openly oppose the Dayu Empire. Su Yu asked, what is their goal? The remnants of the Green Ghost civilization had been dormant for many years. How could they have come here just to kill a few princes? Beishan Wang tripod. North Wangting was very certain. The Imperial Cauldron is used to suppress the fate of the Dayu dynasty. None of the 9 cauldrons are missing. The Green Ghost civilization has returned to the world with the Imperial Cauldron as their goal. They want to seize the cauldron and destroy the fate of the Dayu dynasty. Upon hearing that, Su Yu and Blood Guanyin's eyes changed slightly. Right, why are you going to the Great Void Gate? North Gazing Pavilion suddenly asked. Su Yu put his right hand behind his back, and a long sword burning with golden flames slid out of his wide sleeve. The blood lotus under the Blood Guanyin's feet also spun faster. Are you also going to participate in the Great Void Hidden Dragon contest? North Wangting asked. Yes. Su Yu put away the golden flames forbidden wooden sword calmly. North Wangting laughed. I see. After a pause, North Wangting took out a jade butterfly and handed it to Su Yu with both hands. I can't give you anything else for saving my life. This is the token of the Beishan mansion. If you need help in the future, you can use this jade butterfly to look for me at the Beishan mansion. North Wangting straightened his body and left the bronze carriage. Su Yu said, you don't want to continue traveling with us? Shaking his head, North Wangting said, since you are going to participate in the Hidden Dragon contest, I will not travel with you for your own good. If my second brother finds out that I have befriended the Hidden Dragon contenders, I will be fine, but you will be in trouble. With North Wangchen's breadth of mind, he would never allow his brothers to accumulate power in secret. He might not touch North Wangting, but he would most likely make a move on Su Yu and the others. Farewell. North Wangting flew out of the bronze carriage and disappeared into the distance, leaving behind a sparkling and translucent jade butterfly. Su Yu held it in his palm and gently stroked it. Is this the token of the Baishan bloodline? Shreds of light flickered in the depths of his eyes. The remaining month's journey was exceptionally peaceful. They had successfully arrived at the Taishu faction. Looking from afar, a giant, black door was erected between the heavens and the earth, towering between heaven and earth. We are finally here. Shui Guanyin let out a breath. Throughout the entire journey, they had been tense and alert. They were finally safe. Su Yu said, "We have to thank the evil spirit for scaring away the dangers of the ghost swamp. Otherwise, we would not have reached the Taishu faction so smoothly." Unlike the rumored dangerous ghost swamp, they had not encountered any danger along the way. On the other hand, the cloud ladder, which had been considered safe, had been attacked by the evil spirit. A large number of the Baishan bloodline and their followers had perished. The Wang Cauldron is within the Taishu faction. How do we enter? The merciless Saber Emperor frowned. Shui Guanyin glared at him. Finally awake and concerned about the mission? Along the way, the merciless Saber Emperor was indifferent to everything. Shui Guanyin was indignant. The merciless Saber Emperor grunted. Don't you always discuss everything with Su Yu? When have you ever asked for my opinion? Speaking of which, the arrogant son of a martial emperor did not even have the right to speak in front of Su Yu. He had to hold it in throughout the entire journey. Shui Guanyin sneered. Then you should understand the Taishu faction better. The Taishu faction is never opened normally, and outsiders are not allowed to enter except during the Hidden Dragon contest of the Great Void, Shui Guanyin said. The Chief Cabinet Master ordered us to come at this time because he had some considerations. Su Yu nodded. Along the way, Su Yu had been thinking of a plan to seize the cauldron. The Hidden Dragon contest of the Great Void was the best opportunity. The Hidden Dragon contest of the Northern Territory was held once every 100 years to select the top 9 geniuses. The selection would take place within the Taishu faction. Not only within the fiefdom, but many geniuses from outside the fiefdom would also come to participate. Besides being invited by Bei Wangchen to become a guest behind the scenes, the final rewards of the competition were also very generous. The 9th to 4th place would have the opportunity to become the last disciple of Duke Baishan, the divine warrior of heaven and earth. The top 3 would have the opportunity to enter the cauldron and use the fortune of the Dayu Empire to break through their own bottlenecks. Especially for half-step to divine warriors of heaven and earth, the top 3 rewards were even more rare. Among the dozens of divine warriors of heaven and earth in the Dayu Empire, more than half had used the fortune of the Dayu Empire to break through their bottlenecks and become divine warriors. The opportunity to seize the cauldron was right in front of them. They arrived at the Taishu faction. There was already a large crowd near the giant door, about 1,000 people. Most of their cultivation levels were above that of the Golden Overlord. Gathered together, they gave off a great pressure. Obviously, they had also come to participate in the Hidden Dragon contest of the Great Void. The difference was, compared to Su Yu, most of them looked exhausted. Some of them had obvious injuries on their bodies, looking battered and exhausted. It looked like their journey had been bumpy and dangerous. Those 3 people are strange. They look safe and sound. I wonder if they passed through the Ghost Marsh or the Cloud Ladder. It is indeed strange. The Cloud Ladder this time is dangerous, but the Ghost Marsh is not peaceful either. Not only are there mysterious divine warriors of heaven and earth wreaking havoc, but there are also unknown forces taking the opportunity to hunt. Have they not encountered this before? In the previous Hidden Dragon contests, evil forces would hunt and kill competitors in the Ghost Marsh. This year is the most serious. In the previous years, at least 10,000 people would survive. But this year, only 1,000 people. The strength of the evil forces can be imagined. They must have covered every corner of the 2 paths. But they did not encounter them. There must be something strange about this. Hearing their conversation, Suyu was surprised. If that was the case, the reason why their trip to the Ghost Marsh was so peaceful was because they were exceptionally lucky. How could there be such a huge evil force? Could it be related to them bypassing the central area? Suyu steered the bronze carriage to the side silently. Following that, more and more competitors rushed out of the Ghost Marsh. Without exception, all of them were either injured or weak. At that moment, a black flying ship cut through the miasma of the Ghost Marsh, letting out an ear-piercing sound as it approached. A group of people dressed in purple jumped down from the flying ship. Each of them had a purple gourd hanging from their waists, and they wore masks with evil carvings on their faces. Their entire bodies emitted an uncomfortable evil energy. What was different was that most of them were unharmed. The Fans Han evil faction. Some of the strong martial artists recognized the people on the flying ship and gasped. They are also one of the hunters. I encountered them and escaped from their hands. It's them. The group of people who had been hunted were shocked and angry, but they did not dare resist. Even if they could defeat them, attacking in front of the Great Void Gate would be considered a violation of the Great Void Hidden Dragon's rules, and they would be disqualified from the competition. The people of the Fans Han evil faction emitted waves of evil energy as they arrived at the Great Void Gate. You, move aside. The leader of the purple-robed people extended a finger, pointing at the three strong martial artists with auras at the peak of the Overlord level. Those three people had the highest cultivation levels among the people present. What was even more frightening was that the three of them had joined forces. Looking at the whole place, no one could be their opponent. Therefore, the three of them had occupied the best spot to enter the Great Void Gate, the center of the gate. At that moment, they were asked to move aside by the people of the Fans Han evil faction. This is going to be fun. Those three people should be the three gentlemen of the Thousand Water Lake. Rumor has it that the three of them once fought against a half-world divine warrior without losing. Hehe, looks like the Fans Han evil faction has kicked a steel plate. The three gentlemen of the Thousand Water Lake are not to be trifled with. The crowd was filled with anticipation. The three gentlemen of the Thousand Water Lake exchanged glances, and after a few exchanges, they took the initiative to leave, making room for the center. The crowd was disappointed, but at the same time, shocked. Even the three gentlemen of the Thousand Water Lake were wary of the Fans Han evil faction. It looked like the Fans Han evil faction was even more powerful than they appeared to be. At least you know what's good for you. The leader of the purple-robed people smirked. In the Ghost Swamp, the three of you ran fast. Otherwise, I would have sent you to hell with the Golden Virgin. Hearing this, many people gasped in shock. What? The Golden Virgin is dead? No way. Rumor has it that the Golden Virgin is an old monster that has been famous for many years. Her cultivation level has already reached the peak of the Overlord level. Especially the Golden Virgin. Rumor has it that she has already reached the half-world divine warrior level. Hiss. What kind of trump card does the Fans Han evil faction have? How did they manage to kill the Golden Virgin? No wonder the three gentlemen of the Thousand Water Lake didn't dare to face them. They have seen the power of the Fans Han evil faction with their own eyes. A group of purple-robed people occupied the center position aggressively. The people around them made way for them, afraid of offending them. However, just as the purple-robed people occupied the center position, a coquettish voice rang out. Your Excellency, could you do me a favor and give up the center position to me? The voice was coquettish and seductive, and it was soft to the ears. It also contained a charm that caused people to fall into a momentary obsession, both men and women. Suyu was also momentarily obsessed, but he quickly came to his senses. He bit his tongue and sobered up. The leader of the purple-robed people's expression changed drastically. 1,000 miles illusory sound technique. It's the secret technique of the Hehuan civilization's royal family. Hee. A coquettish laugh rang out, and a gigantic peach blossom slowly flew over from the sky. There were 3 men and 3 women in the peach blossom. The men were tall and handsome, and they had an extraordinary bearing. They were the standard for many women's dream lovers. The women were graceful and alluring, and their beauty was enough to topple a city. Everyone present was stunned. Handsome men and beautiful women might not be rare, but it was rare to see 6 extremely handsome men and beautiful women gathered together. Especially the woman in the play. She was lying on her side on a pink bed carved with the stamens of the peach blossom. The overlapping red gauze couldn't conceal her astonishing figure, nor could it conceal her soul-stirring charm. Looking at her, many people felt that there was no woman more beautiful than her in the world. Suyu was also deeply amazed. However, he had seen Xia Jingyu's incomparable beauty, so he had a strong immunity to it. His eyes were calm, and there was not much lust in them. As the peach blossom approached, the beautiful woman lying on her side opened her red lips and asked, "Gentlemen, can you give up that position to me?" Her coquettish words reached everyone's ears again. At such a close distance, everyone trembled as if they had been electrocuted. The purple-robed leader's face was filled with fear, and he hurriedly said, "I am Xiaoxie from the Fanshan evil faction. Greetings, Saint Lady of the Acacia civilization. Since you like it, Xiaoxie will naturally let you have it." The Fanshan evil faction, who had been arrogant just a moment ago, immediately retreated to the side, not daring to oppose the people in the peach blossom. Suyu glanced at their cultivations, and he was shocked to discover that the weakest of them was a peak overlord. The most powerful was the charming woman, who was enveloped in a special atmosphere that he could not see through. As if she had sensed something, the charming woman looked at Suyu and said with a smile, "Young man, since you like me, why don't you come forward and look at me?" Suyu's response was calm. "No need, thank you." The charming woman sat up on the pink bed, her fair right hand supporting her chin. She looked at Suyu with great interest. "I've been curious since just now. Everyone is affected by my charm, but why are you an exception?" She was very observant, and she had seen everyone's reactions just now. Suyu's unusual behavior naturally did not escape her eyes. "Miss, you worry too much. You are very beautiful, and I admire you very much," Suyu said calmly. The charming woman giggled. "Hehe, I admire you very much too." Suddenly, the charming woman seemed to have sensed something. She walked down from the peach blossom and approached Suyu with light steps. Her charming eyes looked at Suyu. "Have you seen my 13th brother?" Chapter 1733. The charming woman's beautiful eyes emitted a strange light, a light that could hypnotize people. As her lips parted, some mysterious soul-controlling sound wave was contained. "Who is it?" Suyu asked calmly and soberly, completely unaffected by the charm. The charming woman was slightly shocked. He had not been affected just now, perhaps because he had a firm mind. But now, even though she had deliberately bewitched him, he was still immune to it. This was not something that could be achieved by a personality appraisal. Either he had cultivated a divine technique to strengthen the divine soul, or he had a special treasure that could resist the charm. Concealing the shock on her face, the charming woman said, "The Holy Ruins, the 13th saint." "I don't know him," Suyu said calmly, secretly pinching the heavenly orchid silver bamboo fruit in his sleeve. If it had not absorbed the charm, Suyu might have fallen for it. "Is that so? Then where did you get his aura of acacia?" The charming woman twirled her fingers and hooked them at Suyu. An invisible pink gas that was entwining Suyu's body flew away from him and returned to her palm. Suyu was calm and composed. "I don't know. Maybe I came into contact with it unintentionally. An unknown woman, an unknown power, an unknown influence." Naturally, he would not admit that he had seen the so-called 13th brother. In fact, when Suyu first met them, they looked vaguely familiar. If he remembered correctly, the young ruins master of the holy ruins he had encountered in the void seemed to be from the Acacia civilization. He must be the 13th brother that this woman had mentioned. "He, interesting young man," the charming woman giggled. She wanted to ask someone, but one sentence was enough to make him answer. Suyu was the only one who did not answer. "If you don't answer, you must be willing." Her beautiful eyes turned to look at the merciless saber emperor. "Is that so?" Wisps of seductive light gushed out and locked onto the merciless saber emperor. He immediately sank into it, his eyes glazed over. "We don't know 13th brother, but we have met the young ruins master of the holy ruins." The charming woman's eyes flashed. "Where is he?" "Dead," the merciless saber emperor said. Swish. The 3 men and 2 women in the peach blossom rushed over, their faces full of shock and anger. How dare you kill the young ruin's master? A sharp energy pierced through the sky and struck the merciless Saber Emperor's abdomen. Bang! The merciless Saber Emperor's abdomen was pierced through, and his entire body was sent flying like a fallen leaf, smashing into the gate of Great Void, and then heavily bouncing back to the ground. The incomparably sharp pain pierced his soul, and finally woke up the merciless Saber Emperor. However, before he could react, a foot stepped on his back. The heartless Saber Emperor's bones emitted crackling sounds under the crushing pressure of the enormous force. In fact, it seemed as if they were about to completely shatter. The merciless Saber Emperor opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with minced flesh. His face was filled with pain as he begged, "Suyu, Blood Guanyin, save me quickly." The pitiful merciless Saber Emperor didn't even understand what had happened, and he was brutally abused when he woke up. His 2 companions as well. Capture them and kill them on the spot. The 5 of them were extremely furious. Their anger was not only because of the death of the young master of the ruins, but also because they, who were high and mighty, were provoked by a lowly existence. Stop! The charming woman waved her sleeve, stopping the 5 of them. Sainters! 13th young ruin master died an unjust death. The 5 of them were filled with grief and indignation. The charming woman said indifferently, "There is no need for you to cry and howl." The 5 of them immediately hid their strange expressions and stood respectfully to the side. They were in awe of the charming woman. Turning around, the charming woman looked at Suyu. Who killed him? Unexpectedly, she did not think that it was Suyu and the others who did it. Suyu looked over calmly and said, "The divine warrior of heaven and earth of the Flood Dragon clan." As soon as he said this, the expressions of the people present changed drastically. Flood Dragon? Why would a Flood Dragon appear near the Daryu civilization? That can't be right. The Flood Dragon clan usually appears in more advanced civilizations. Why would they descend here? He must be lying. The charming woman's expression did not change. She asked, "Why did you kill him?" "I gathered the translated method of controlling meteors and made it into some kind of divine item that could travel through the void." Such an explanation caused the charming woman to ponder for a long time. Perhaps she agreed with it. She asked, "Then how did you come back alive?" Suyu shrugged his shoulders helplessly. "Our method of controlling meteors was too clumsy. That divine warrior looked down on us." The method of controlling meteors of the human clan was publicly acknowledged to be inferior. Such an explanation made sense. But did she believe it? The charming woman's solemn expression dissipated. She looked Suyu up and down and said, upon closer inspection, "You do look like a handsome young man. How about you follow me?" The bystanders all revealed complex expressions of envy and fear. To be chosen by the Holy Maiden of Hehuan was enough to show how outstanding the man was. But all those who were chosen by the Holy Maiden of Hehuan did not end up well. All of them had their yin and yang primordial energy depleted, their cultivation levels regressed, or they died. No. Suyu's reply was concise. The charming woman giggled, her huge chest heaving up and down in shock. "The more I can't have him, the more I want to have him. Peach Blossom, Shuei, capture him." Suyu's face was calm. "You can't win my heart like this. I just want you to be mine." Among the 3 men and 2 women, an extremely handsome man and woman walked out. They walked towards Suyu with smiles on their faces. "Young master, it is your honor to be chosen by the Holy Maiden. Why don't you submit to our saint master?" This scene had the flavor of a foppish young master forcing a respectable girl. Suyu felt a chill run down his spine. "Are you planning to fight here?" Only then did the other party realize that something was wrong. In front of the Great Void Gate, anyone who dared to fight would be eliminated. "Forget it then. After entering the Great Void Gate, I will have plenty of opportunities to have you." The charming woman looked at Suyu, her pink tongue licking her lips. She looked like she was going to eat Suyu up. Suyu had goosebumps all over his body. He leaned back slightly to avoid the woman's fiery gaze. Humph! As he retreated, he bumped into a soft body behind him. Turning his head, he saw the blood guanine with her arms crossed in front of her chest. Her breasts were rising and falling as she stared at Su Yu. "Strange women like you no matter where you go," the blood guanine snorted. The ancient dream altar had the female corpse in the ice coffin, and the great void gate had the holy maiden of the holy maiden of the holy maiden of He Huan. Su Yu spread his hands, expressing his helplessness. Over the next 2 days, the number of people coming out of the ghost marsh gradually decreased. Strangely, most of them were unscathed or lightly injured. Participants often pointed out that they were the evil forces that had hunted the participants. They all had one thing in common: they were all safe and sound, just like Su Yu. As such, many of the gazes directed at Su Yu were filled with hatred and fear. It was obvious that they were also part of the evil forces. Su Yu had no choice but to wait calmly. On the 5th day, more than 2,000 people had gathered in front of the Great Void Gate. It had been 3 days since any living creatures had emerged from the Ghost Marsh. Almost all of the participants on the path of the Ghost Marsh had arrived. Only the cloud ladder remained motionless. At that moment, rumbling sounds could be heard from deep within the heavens. A ladder formed by the condensation of clouds extended from the endless sky, descending in front of the Great Void Gate. Everyone present was shocked. Living creatures had finally arrived on the cloud ladder. In the past, the cloud ladder was always faster than the Ghost Marsh. Why is it last this time? Don't you know? There was a huge change in the city amongst the clouds where the cloud ladder had to pass through. Many strong people died on the spot and were trapped in the city amongst the clouds. A large number of people escaped from the city amongst the clouds. Some gave up on training in the city amongst the clouds, while others came here through the Ghost Marsh. Su Yu looked over. He could see the depths of the cloud ladder in the distance. Endless golden light was shining along the cloud ladder. It's the Golden Crow holy light of the Bashan faction. The Bashan faction is here. This is great. I thought that this year's Hidden Dragon contest would fail because there was no one to host it. Only the Bashan faction was qualified to host the Hidden Dragon contest. The Bashan kingdom was busy with national affairs and could not afford to be distracted. Usually, it was the Bashan faction that came to host the contest. Many people heaved a sigh of relief, their eyes filled with anticipation. I wonder which Bashan faction will host this year's contest. With anticipation, the crowd waited for the arrival of the Bashan faction. However, just as the golden light was about to descend, a strange scene suddenly occurred. The mass of golden light suddenly exploded. A powerful golden storm struck, enveloping the Great Void Gate in a radius of 10,000 feet. In an instant, Su Yu felt his body become light as a feather, and he was immediately blown away by the golden storm. At the critical moment, he waved his palm, took out the Azura sword, and stabbed it into the ground. However, the golden storm was getting stronger and stronger. The ground was cracked, and the ground 3 feet behind was directly lifted up. Su Yu held the Azura sword and was also blown away. At the critical moment, the Azura sword in Su Yu's hand suddenly swept across. Demon Master World. The unparalleled power of the sword cut open the golden gale that wrapped around him. However, before it could stabilize, an even stronger gale came to supplement it. Su Yu swung his sword again. This time, he barely cut it open. Taking advantage of the gap, Su Yu swung his sword several times in succession. However, the strength of the gale increased exponentially, making it more difficult to swing the sword. At the last stroke, Su Yu was blown away along with his sword. In desperation, Su Yu used the fruit of the heavenly orchid silver bamboo to absorb the gale that wrapped around his body. Only then did his body stabilize. Even so, using powerful sword techniques continuously consumed his divine power. He was very exhausted and panting. Ah! Suddenly, a delicate cry came from behind. The divine power of the blood guanine was exhausted and could no longer resist the gale. She was blown away and disappeared in the golden storm in the blink of an eye. Su Yu held the fruit of the heavenly orchid silver bamboo in his hand and was not affected by the gale. He ran as fast as he could, leaving a series of after-images, and caught up with the waste of the blood guanine. At the moment, the gale was too strong, and the two of them could not speak at all. They could only watch the increasingly terrible gale blow away everything around them. Many contestants were blown away by the golden gale and disappeared without a trace. Only a few contestants with abundant divine power or extremely powerful strength could barely resist the golden storm. After struggling for a stick of incense, the storm finally stopped. Looking around, the vicinity of the Great Void Gate was fragmented and full of devastation. It was completely different from the scene when they came. If the Great Void Gate was not here, they would have thought that they had been teleported to another place. Those who were blown away by the golden gale also slowly came to the Great Void Gate with different injuries. What's going on with that golden storm? It's so strange. What kind of demon dares to make trouble in front of the Bashan bloodline and hurt us contestants? The sudden change just now had stirred up everyone, and there was a lot of discussion. At that moment, the cloud ladder trembled slightly, and the huge mass of golden light slid down the ladder. Greetings, Envoy Bashan. Everyone greeted respectfully. Before the golden light dissipated, a lazy man's voice could be heard. The first segment of the assessment has ended. Those who were blown thousands of feet away from the Great Void Gate, you have been eliminated. Please return. What? Many people who were still greeting were shocked. The golden storm is an assessment. Why wasn't it explained in advance? The lazy voice continued. The Great Void Hidden Dragon assessment changes every year. The Bashan bloodline has no obligation to explain it to you in advance. But that is not fair. We were hunted by the evil forces in the Ghost Swamp. We were either injured or lacking divine power. Without any preparation, we were blown thousands of feet away by the sudden golden gale. This does not reflect the strength that we should have. Before he could finish, the lazy voice interrupted him. The truly strong only look for their own reasons. Only the weak blame the heavens and others. Suyu frowned slightly. It sounded reasonable, but it lacked an objective situation. It was indeed unfair to face the assessment under such circumstances. Suyu had seen with his own eyes that a few severely injured peak overlords had been blown away before they could display their strength. The other party had spoken so casually, but in fact, he was looking down on them from a superior position. I am not convinced. Who are you? How can you dismiss all our efforts so easily? Someone protested. They had risked their lives to get here from the Ghost Swamp, only to receive such treatment. It was truly disappointing. Ha, the wail of a defeated dog. The lazy voice calmly said, I am the one who will be taking the assessment for this year's Hidden Dragon Taishu. Do you have any objections? Everyone was shocked. Prince. In the past, it was always the older generation of the Bashan bloodline. Why would it be given to a young prince this year? Impossible. The lazy voice calmly said, in the eyes of trash, age decides everything. Only in the eyes of the strong, strength decides everything. The golden light dissipated, revealing the true appearance within. Impressively, it was a huge group. More than a dozen people were within the golden light. They were all riding on a light-winged golden boat. The golden storm just now had originated from that pair of powerful light wings. At the head of the golden boat was a throne carved with the sun and moon. A youth dressed in luxurious clothes and a tall crown was sitting on it. His eyes seemed to contain stars and were extremely bright. Anyone who looked into those eyes would feel their hearts tremble. He had a lazy expression, like a high and mighty Brahma god, looking at the ants on the ground in boredom. His gaze was extremely arrogant. And behind him, without exception, were absolute powerhouses. The lowest was an extremely cold and arrogant woman. Her expression was icy cold, and she revealed a cold arrogance that kept others at arm's length. However, as she stood on the golden boat, she lowered her head deeply towards the throne. Suyu was shocked to see her. Empress Ziwei. However, Suyu was not surprised by her appearance, but by her arrogance. Why would she lower her head to another man? For a moment, Suyu felt a sense of unfamiliarity. After a year, was this still the arrogant Empress Ziwei that he knew? It was only when a gasp of surprise woke Suyu from his reverie. Bei Wang Chen. It's actually Bei Wang Chen. Chapter 1734. Suyu couldn't help but stare. Was that the legendary Bei Wang Chen? However, That didn't seem right. He wasn't a real entity. No. A participant with a high cultivation said in awe, that's not the real body. It's just his appearance. Bei Wangchen cultivated one of the Great Yu's 10 great divine techniques, the 9 aspects technique. He has 9 doppelgangers with different faces, and each doppelganger has the terrifying strength of a half-step worldly sovereign. The one in front of us should be Ao Xiong's clone. Su Yu's pupils constricted. If one clone had the strength of a half-step divine warrior, what would happen if 9 clones were combined? What about the real body's strength? Looking at Empress Ziwei, Su Yu felt like he could feel her emotions. She, who looked down on all the outstanding talents in the world, had encountered the king of outstanding talent. Any objections? Ao Xiong looked down at the crowd lazily. Everyone who was looked down at avoided eye contact. Those who complained about the unfairness just now hid in the crowd and didn't dare to speak again. The crowd was dead silent. Ao Xiong said calmly, since there are no objections, those who were swept away by the golden storm, go wherever you want. Everyone in the surroundings looked at each other, and then they chose to leave silently. In the blink of an eye, there were only 100 people left. Ao Xiong looked down at them and said, congratulations on passing the first assessment. Oh, including them, Ao Xiong said calmly. The dozen people behind him flew off the golden boat and landed in front of the Great Void Gate. They had also passed the first assessment. Some strong men clenched their fists. It was ridiculous that they had barely passed the assessment after going through so many dangers. What about the dozen people? Just because of Bei Wangchen and Ao Xiong's words, they passed without any assessment. However, what could they do? Bei Wangchen not only had great charisma, but he was also the host of this year's Great Void Hidden Dragon competition. He could decide everyone's fate with a single thought. The second assessment is the Great Void Hunt. You will have the opportunity to enter the Great Void Gate for a 3-day hunt. You will have to hunt the Great Void Beasts in the Great Void Gate. Those who rank in the top 20 in terms of the number of beasts hunted will enter the final assessment. Hearing that, everyone's expression changed again. Hunt Great Void Beasts. There has never been such a test in the past, someone exclaimed. Ao Xiong said indifferently, there is one now. If you don't want to participate, you can scram immediately. I won't stay any longer. Those who had opinions immediately felt resentful. Prince Bei Wangchen, it's not that we don't want to participate, but everyone knows how dangerous the Great Void Beast is. If we are not careful, we will be destroyed no matter how strong our cultivation is. Shouldn't we reconsider the risk of hunting the Great Void Beast? Hee hee. Ao Xiong sneered, you don't need to interfere with my decision. I hereby announce the start of the second round of assessment. With that, Ao Xiong struck a seal towards the gate of Great Void. A crack slowly opened up on the tightly shut gate of Great Void. The group of competitors that Ao Xiong had brought along charged in without a word. Even if the rest of the contestants had objections, they did not dare to delay and could only brace themselves and rush in. Su Yu's eyes flickered and he said, let's go. Shui Guanyin clenched her teeth and followed Su Yu into the Taishu Gate. A vast world of nothingness entered his field of vision. It was pitch black and silent, and it represented absolute death. A lone island stood in the middle of the nothingness. That was the birthplace of the Baishan bloodline, the Taishu Lone Island. It was isolated from the rest of the world and could only be reached through the Taishu Gate. It was rarely disturbed by the outside world. Because of that, it produced a large number of tyrannical creatures, including the Baishan bloodline, one of the 10 great bloodlines of the Great Yu civilization. However, even the powerful Baishan bloodline had a natural enemy on the lone island. The Great Void Beast. It was a strange beast that was born on the edge of the lone island. It had the physical form of a living creature and the characteristics of nothingness. It could spit out the power of nothingness and crush everything that came close to it. Apart from the divine warriors of the universe, anyone who was hit by the power of nothingness had no way to survive. Although the Baishan bloodline was powerful, they could not defeat the Great Void Beast. They were often treated as nourishment by the Great Void Beast and hunted down the people of the Baishan bloodline. The above information was recorded on the tree bark given to him by Huangfu Liang. Gazing at the lone island in the distance, Suyu let out a breath of turbid air. It's about to begin. In the sky above the lone island, a snow-white giant gate gradually appeared. From the gate, 10 paths of warm light converged and arrived in front of the 100 contestants. This was the only way to reach the lone island recorded on the tree bark. Swish, swish. As soon as the entrance appeared, the strong people from all sides rushed to enter the lone island from different paths. Suyu chose the middle path unhurriedly and stepped on it with the blood guanine. Just as he stepped on it, Suyu looked back subconsciously. His gaze caught a very strange contestant among the many contestants. He was wearing a mask made of white bones of an extremely high grade and could not be seen through. His whole body was exuding a very dense aura of death. His whole person gave off an extremely ominous feeling. Suyu slightly narrowed his eyes. He did not know why, but this person gave him a sense of déjà vu, as if he had seen him somewhere before. The person sensed Suyu's gaze and looked at him. Under the mask, a pair of deathly pale eyes reflected in Suyu's eyes. Where have I seen him before? Suyu's eyes flickered as he watched the person step onto the lone island from another path. The Great Void Hidden Dragon Tournament doesn't look like it will be very peaceful, Suyu muttered softly. There had been a change in the city amongst the clouds and an unknown aura of death had infiltrated. Curling his lips, Suyu stepped inside. Passing through the snow-white gate, what entered his eyes was a flourishing spiritual land with dense divine energy. With a casual glance, he could see countless spiritual objects of the universe. White tuor cold grass, dried algae mud root, leafless ginseng. The blood guanine's beautiful eyes blinked again and again, her eyes filled with shock. It's hard to imagine that these spiritual objects would be high-grade spiritual objects that people would fight for in the sea of constellation civilization. But on this lone island, they are weeds that can be seen everywhere. TSK, the place suppressed by the Bashan King's Cauldron is indeed different. If I were to enter the top 3 of the Great Void Hidden Dragon Tournament, I would have the opportunity to comprehend within. Just thinking about the effects of that would be terrifying. A look of longing rippled across her cheeks. Then, she laughed at herself. But I don't have to dream anymore. I'm doomed to lose the competition among the geniuses of the Bashan King's fief. Not to mention the Golden Overlord, even the innumerable glazed crystal overlords would be enough to make her suffer, let alone the numerous peak overlords. How could she possibly occupy the top 9 spots? Have you forgotten to change your oath so quickly? Suyu asked. The blood guanine was startled. She clenched her fists, her eyes filled with determination. Man can conquer nature. If I give up before the first battle, I will really be giving up on myself. It's good that you think that way. Let's go and hunt the great void beasts. Suyu's eyes turned, and a giant eye appeared in the sky, searching for the great void beasts on a large scale. Nothing could hide from the heavenly eye. Suyu immediately discovered that there were 2 accompanying great void beasts nearby, and they were jointly attacking a participant who had been accidentally teleported near them. That was a peak gold overlord, who was hastily dealing with 2 level 1 great void beasts. The great void beasts immediately launched an attack, each opening their mouths to spit out a mass of void energy. The golden overlord dodged it nimbly, but was accidentally contaminated by a trace of it. As a result, it was turned into dust by the void energy on the spot. Seeing this, Suyu's eyelids twitched. The cultivation of the 2 level 1 great void beasts was only at the silver overlord level, but it was a piece of cake for them to kill a peak gold overlord. Killing such great void beasts required extreme caution. Suyu's eyes turned, and he hurried over with the blood guanine. The great void beasts were very sensitive, and they detected Suyu's arrival from far away. They spat out a mass of void energy across the air. As Suyu's figure retreated, he threw out the heavenly orchid silver bamboo fruit. A powerful suction force instantly swallowed up the power of nothingness. Suyu heaved a sigh of relief, and he grabbed the heavenly orchid silver bamboo fruit. His confidence was boosted. Fortunately, the heavenly orchid silver bamboo fruit can even absorb the void energy. Although our cultivation is not as good, we might be able to catch up with others by relying on this object. Sizzle. The 2 great void beasts spat out another 2 masses of void energy. Su Yu's eyes turned cold, and he waved the Azura sword in his hand. Demon Master World! Boom! The two great void beasts were killed instantly, and their corpses fell to the ground. Let's go, Su Yu said. The Blood Guanyin was stunned. You don't want the corpses of the great void beasts anymore? The final ranking will be based on the number of corpses of the great void beasts that you bring back. Su Yu shook his head. They are only level 1, and no matter how many there are, they won't be of any use if they are not of high quality. The Blood Guanyin was speechless, and she thought to herself, how ambitious are you? Although there are more than 100 contestants, some of them might not even be able to kill a single great void beast. For example, not only did he fail to kill a great void beast, but he also lost his life. In the end, Su Yu treated them like trash, and didn't want them at all. Not long after they left, several figures rushed over, and one of them was the Holy Maiden of the Joyous Holy Ground. She sucked the two great void beasts into her palm, and her eyes were filled with surprise. That's strange. Someone killed the great void beasts, but didn't care about them. Holy Maiden, you worry too much. How difficult is it to kill a great void beast? Even the geniuses brought by Bei Wang Chen wouldn't give up on a level 1 great void beast so easily. I think someone must have killed them before they could clean them up. Holy Maiden, please look, there is a pile of ashes on the ground. The Holy Maiden looked at the ashes carefully, and she agreed with his explanation. She then said with a sweet smile, hey, in that case, I'm quite lucky to have found a treasure as soon as I came here. Let's go. Let's continue. The Holy Maiden said, if we run into that human called Su Yu, we can give these two to him. With his strength, hey, I'm afraid he can't even kill a level 1 great void beast. Countless mountains and rivers away, Su Yu and the Blood Guanyin were hiding in the messy stone forest. A creature that looked like a lion was squatting on a giant stone not far away. Its whole body was pitch black, and it was emitting wisps of void energy. A great void beast. Moreover, it was a level 2 great void beast. Its cultivation was at the level of a glazed crystal overlord, and together with the void energy, even a peak overlord would find it difficult to deal with it. Brother Su Yu, you take the front, and I'll take the back. I'll attract his attention, and you use your powerful divine technique. The Blood Guanyin said quietly. Unexpectedly, Su Yu dashed out with a swoosh, and he was going to fight it head-on. The Blood Guanyin's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The opponent was a great void beast, and its cultivation was at the level of a glazed crystal overlord. Was it courting death to rush forward like that? The fifth style of the demonic sword, the demonic birth of the heart. Su Yu yelled, and the Azura sword in his hand released endless pitch-black demonic flames. The sword slashed down, and the demonic flames floated. The Blood Guanyin suddenly felt her heart beat faster, and her soul was restless. The world in front of her was rapidly distorted, and the ordinary environment turned into a place of hell's raging fire. She was suffering the torment of the raging fire in hell, and she was in so much pain that she couldn't help but hold her head and scream. Suddenly, the scene around her receded like the tide, and the pain from her soul quickly dissipated. The Blood Guanyin opened her eyes in a daze, and what she saw was the back of Su Yu wiping the Azura sword. The level 2 great void beast, whose cultivation was at the level of a glazed crystal overlord, had been cut in half by the sword. You killed it. The Blood Guanyin couldn't believe her eyes. The glazed crystal overlord's great void beast was killed so easily. Suddenly, she remembered the pain she had just experienced, and asked in surprise, Brother Su Yu, what kind of swordsmanship are you practicing? Why is it so strange? It wasn't targeted at her, but it made her fall into an illusion of endless pain. What kind of terrifying illusion would the targeted great void beast fall into? Under such circumstances, no matter how powerful the great void beast was, it wouldn't have been able to use it, and Su Yu took advantage of the opportunity to slay it. What a terrifying swordsmanship! Su Yu turned his head and smiled. It's a swordsmanship given to me by an old friend, and I have some understanding of it. It's quite powerful. With a flick of the long sword, Su Yu picked up the great void beast and threw it to the Blood Guanyin. Take it. You gave it to me. What about you? The Blood Guanyin was overwhelmed by the favor. Su Yu said, There's another one 3 million miles away, and that's mine. Let's go. The blood guanine was stunned. Su Yu's tone was completely carefree, as if it wasn't difficult at all. Half an hour later, at the lakeside 3 million miles away, a huge white snake coiled on the shore, devouring the corpse of a participant whose strength was as high as that of a glazed crystal overlord. Its reddened eyes were full of excitement and greed. Near it, there were several other participants' bodies. They weren't weak, and the weakest one was a golden overlord. It seemed like a group of people had besieged it, but they were all killed by the white snake. Sighing, Su Yu attacked abruptly. With the birth of a demon, he cut down the endless illusion. The white snake was in the process of enjoying its spoils of war, and its mental state was the most relaxed. Caught off guard, it was immediately hit by the illusion. Its whole body stiffened, and it couldn't move. Only when Su Yu chopped off its head with his sword did its huge body twist madly. Humph! Su Yu snorted. With a point of the Azura sword, the white snake's head was crushed. Only then did the huge body gradually stop moving. Without hesitation, Su Yu opened the space ring and prepared to keep the snake's body. Unexpectedly, right at that moment, several sharp sword formations suddenly appeared from the distant lake, slashing toward Su Yu. The sword formations were strangely powerful. Su Yu raised his brows and quickly retreated. In a short amount of time, the white snake's corpse on the ground was swept away by a space energy, entering a space storage device. Hualala, the lake water split open, and 3 figures leaped out. Each of them had an elegant temperament, like a modest gentleman. Their abilities were so deep that it was shocking. The 3 gentlemen of the 1,000-water lake? The blood guanine's expression changed. The abilities of the 3 of them could be said to be top-notch, peak overlords. They were only a step away from becoming half a martial emperor. Why did you snatch someone's belongings? The blood guanine scolded first, secretly sending a message to Su Yu. Brother Su Yu, the 3 gentlemen of the 1,000-water lake are not easy to deal with. In terms of temperament, they aren't any worse than the evil factions. Let's quickly escape. If the 3 of them hadn't seen Su Yu in action, the birth of a demon could still take them by surprise. Chapter 1735. Snatch our possessions. Among the 3 gentlemen, the purple-robed scholar gently waved the fan in his hand. This is our prey. We didn't blame you for snatching our prey, but how dare you claim that we snatched your possessions? You must know your shame, do you understand? Shui Guanyin laughed angrily. They had obviously realized that the great void beast was too powerful and could destroy a team in an instant, so they didn't dare to attack. In the end, Su Yu killed the great void beast with a single stroke of his sword, but they ran out and slandered Su Yu for snatching their prey. They even taught them to know their shame. Simply shameless to the extreme. Wind gentlemen, they are just 2 ordinary people. Why waste your breath lecturing them? The purple-robed scholar was called Wind Gentleman by the green-robed scholar who had put away his brush. Ha ha, the painting gentleman is of noble character and unquestionable integrity. I admire you. Wind Gentleman praised and laughed. Shui Guanyin rolled her eyes. Aren't you ashamed of flattering each other? How dare you call yourself a gentleman? You're more like the 3 villains of the 1,000-water lake. Although she was angry, she was very calm. She activated a secret technique from her sleeves. As soon as she finished speaking, she performed the technique. Blood lotus formation. The blood lotus under her feet transformed into 9 shadows, forming a circle and trapping the 3 gentlemen in the center. The shadows were connected to each other, and the blood light shone, blocking their vision. Brother Su Yu, run. Divine power floated under Shui Guanyin's feet as she grabbed Su Yu's shoulder. This technique was her secret technique for escaping, and it consumed a lot of divine power. She wouldn't use it unless it was a critical moment. Haha, with the array gentlemen here, it would be strange if you 2 juniors could escape. The white-robed scholar of the 3 gentlemen laughed strangely and shouted, formation-breaking technique. A pitch-black flag rotated in his palm, emitting a powerful black light. Wherever the black light swept past, the blood lotus phantoms were completely wiped out. The formation that trapped them was easily dispelled. Shui Guanyin's face sank. Among the 3 gentlemen, The array gentleman was the most difficult to deal with. He was good at breaking formations, and ordinary formations couldn't trap him at all. He was also very good at setting up formations. The sword formation that the three of them performed together was completed under the guidance of the array gentleman. Calming herself down, Blood Guanine forced herself to calm down and said, "Don't go too far. We can give up on the level 2 Great Void Beast, but if you continue to be so aggressive, then don't blame us for fighting to the death. Do you think you're qualified to fight to the death?" Gentleman Feng sneered, "Even the glazed crystal overlord doesn't have such a qualification, let alone you." His words were forcefully interrupted by Suyu, who had not spoken a word since the beginning. "Is that so? Since you are so powerful, why are you spouting so much nonsense and not daring to step forward?" Suyu said indifferently as he caressed the Azura sword in his hand. Wind Gentleman's expression turned cold. "You are really impatient to see the King of Hell. Since that's the case, I'll fulfill your wish. Demons are born from the heart." Suddenly, Suyu shouted loudly. Master Feng's expression changed drastically, and he retreated frantically. Painter Gentleman and Formation Gentleman hurriedly moved to the sides and shouted, "Get into formation." The haughtiness on their faces was gone, replaced by fear. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the sword formation was immediately activated, protecting the three of them as if they were facing a formidable enemy. However, even though they were prepared, Suyu's sword did not strike. Suyu was toying with the Azura sword, laughing. "I was merely clearing my throat and shouting randomly. Why are the three high and mighty gentlemen so frightened?" Only then did Wind Gentleman realize that Suyu was intentionally scaring them. Annoyed and embarrassed, Wind Gentleman scolded from afar, "Brat, we three gentlemen are magnanimous and will not lower ourselves to your level. Now, we will give you a chance to pledge your loyalty to us." After hearing that, Suyu laughed, looking mockingly at them, who were hiding behind the sword formation. "Do you think you're qualified for me to pledge my loyalty to you with your looks?" The thickness of their skin was hilarious. Formation Gentleman waved his black flag, keeping the sword formation. He stared at Suyu. "Brat, since we have seen your sword techniques and still dare to show ourselves, we naturally have the confidence to completely subdue you." The three of them looked at each other, each taking out a heart that was emitting a thick demonic energy. The demon heart of the 9 serenities. You should recognize it, right? This is a rare divine item of the heavenly demon civilization. Swallowing it can grant immunity to some demonic techniques. Are you sure you can handle the three of us? Formation Gentleman asked. Suyu's lips curled into a cold smile. Then swallow it and try again. I don't mind playing along with you to the end. Formation Gentleman pinched the demonic heart, staring at Suyu, hesitating to swallow it. What, you don't dare? Are you afraid of fighting for a long time and wasting 3 precious days? Or are you afraid of attracting a strong enemy? Suyu's eyes were sharp, and he could see through their thoughts at a glance. Having their thoughts exposed, the 3 men's expressions changed. If they were to fight head-on, it would be no problem for them to join forces and kill Suyu. But the time they wasted would be an unknown. Unfortunately, the most precious thing they had was time, and they only had 3 days. If you have no guts and no guts, then scram as far as you can. Suyu sneered coldly. The 3 gentlemen were furious. If they were in the outside world, they would have joined forces to force Suyu to death. But they were in the midst of the assessment. If Suyu was unwilling to surrender, they had no time to waste. But they were extremely unwilling to let Suyu go just like that. Suyu's domineering sword technique had killed the Great Void Beast with a single strike, and they were very tempted. If they could control Suyu and use him for their use, coupled with their abilities, they could easily kill any second-grade Great Void Beast. Gritting his teeth, the Formation Gentleman took out the Grand Void Beast's carcass in a rather condescending manner. His solemn expression softened as he said, "Little brother Su, we have offended you earlier. Please forgive us. Take this Grand Void Beast as our apology. I hope little brother Su will accept it." Shui Guanyin was dumbfounded. She saw that the 2 sides were about to fight. Why were the murderous 3 gentlemen apologizing the moment he turned around? Wind Gentleman and Painting Gentleman's facial muscles squirmed a few times, and they forced a smile. We have offended you just now, and we hope you will forgive us. Su Yu was not at all surprised by their behavior, and he put away the second-grade great void beast's carcass. He, I am a magnanimous person, and I will not bother with insignificant people like you. I forgive you. Goodbye. Su Yu turned around and was about to leave. Blue veins popped on Formation Gentleman's forehead. He suppressed his anger and smiled apologetically. Little brother Su, please wait. Speak. Su Yu said without turning his head. Wind Gentleman and Painting Gentleman clenched their fists. He was too arrogant, and his attitude made it seem like they were the ones begging him. Formation Gentleman controlled his temper and said, Little brother Su, you have a sword technique that can restrain great void beasts, and the three of us have the ability to clear the obstacles. Why don't we work together and hunt the second-grade great void beast? I believe that if we work together, we will reap great rewards. Hearing this, Su Yu snorted disdainfully. Without you, I can easily kill second-grade great void beasts. Why should I bring you burdens? Shui Guanyin laughed inwardly. It was unbelievable. No one could have imagined that three peak overlords would submit to humiliation and beg to form an alliance with a bronze overlord, only to be despised by the bronze overlord instead. If she had not seen it with her own eyes, she would have found it hard to believe that such a ridiculous thing could happen in this world. Wind Gentleman finally could not take it anymore, and he bellowed, Su, enough is enough. We three gentlemen have never done this before. If you are not satisfied, don't blame us for. Su Yu's eyes turned cold. What do you want? Are you ready to fight? Sure, I'll keep you company. He gripped the Azura sword once again, and the two sides looked like they were about to clash again. Formation Gentleman turned his head and glared at Wind Gentleman. Shut up. Don't be rude to little brother Su. He turned to Su Yu and said, My brother was rude, I apologize on his behalf. If there's nothing else, I'll leave. Su Yu waved his hand and prepared to leave. Formation Gentleman continued, Maybe you're right, and you alone are enough to kill a second-grade great void beast. But what about a third-grade great void beast? Hey! Su Yu narrowed his eyes. You found traces of a third-grade great void beast? Formation Gentleman said, We found it as soon as we arrived here, but because we discovered its existence, we distanced ourselves from it. A third-grade great void beast's physical cultivation was as high as a peak overlord's. Combined with the power of nothingness, even 10 of the 1,000 Water Lake's three gentlemen working together might not be able to subdue it. However, if it was paired with Su Yu's domineering sword technique, the result would be different. Even if the sword technique could stun the third-grade great void beast for a moment, it would be enough for the three of them to join forces and kill it. Su Yu was tempted. Second-grade great void beasts were rare, but in terms of quality, third-grade great void beasts were more reliable. If he could hunt one, he would surely enter the top 20. After a moment's deliberation, Su Yu nodded. All right, but I have a condition. Please speak. Formation Gentleman was delighted. Su Yu pulled Shui Guanyin over and said, My condition is that she comes with us, and she gets a share of whatever we obtain. A burden? The three gentlemen frowned, clearly unwilling. However, they had finally reached this point, so they naturally nodded in agreement. No problem. After a brief exchange of glances, the three of them gave a clear answer. Shui Guanyin stared at Su Yu gratefully, but she clenched her fists tightly within her sleeves. Her pride was once again deeply hurt, second only to Empress Ziwei's provocation. Without sufficient strength, she would be despised wherever she went. An obsession to become stronger gradually rose in his heart. 2 hours later, in the ancient ruins tens of millions of miles away from the lake. This was originally a tribal city of Beixin's bloodline. One day, it was suddenly attacked by a third-grade great void beast. Most of the strong men of Beixin's bloodline died in battle, and the rest fled. It became a ghost city, occupied by the great void beast ever since. The 5 of them stood outside the ruins, and they could clearly feel the power of nothingness emanating from the surroundings. That third-grade great void beast is beneath the ruins. It's best if we strike first, Formation Gentleman said, immediately setting up a seal. With a flick of his sleeves, thousands of pitch-black flags flew out, surrounding the entire ruins. Wind Gentleman waved his fan, and 3 masses of compressed green stormy air masses hovered between his palms. Painting Gentleman continued to draw in the air, and a colorful giant mountain appeared out of thin air. It materialized from nothingness, and floated in the air above the ruins. The 3 of them, who were well prepared, were a little weak. It was obvious that they had given it their all. Su Yu was relieved. He pulled out the Azura sword and looked down at the ruins. His soul eyes penetrated through the layers of ruins, and he discovered the 3rd-grade Great Void Beast hidden beneath the ruins. It was a giant rat with purple eyes all over its body. It had long discovered the existence of Su Yu and the others, and was hiding beneath the ruins, looking for the most opportune moment to attack them. While they were hunting it, it was also planning to hunt them for food. Attack! Formation Gentleman shouted. Wind Gentleman waved his fan, and a compressed stormy air mass fell upon the ruins. Whoosh! All of a sudden, the air mass exploded, and a boundless green gale burst forth from it. The entire ruins were instantly swept up into the sky, revealing the bottom of the ruins, and the giant rat that was hidden within. Painting Gentleman cooperated well. Almost at the same time as the ruins were swept away, he waved his brush, and the colorful mountain fell with a loud rumble, crashing onto the giant rat. The giant rat was caught off guard, and it was immediately angered by the attack. With an ear-piercing shriek, the purple eyes on its back overflowed with wisps of power of nothingness, shattering the giant mountain that was crushing it into nothingness. The sight sent chills down everyone's spines. As expected of a 3rd-grade Great Void Beast. Not only could it spit power of nothingness from its mouth, but it could also overflow from its entire body. If they were to fight it head-on, any divine technique would be turned into nothingness by the power of nothingness. Was there any chance of winning in such a battle? Formation Gentleman shouted, suppression of the myriad formations. Countless flags surrounding the ruins fell like a torrential storm, suppressing the giant rat. Sensing the danger, the giant rat quickly released the power of nothingness, turning one powerful formation flag after another into nothingness. Although there were many formation flags, none of them could get within 30 feet of the giant rat. The only thing was that the giant rat could not free itself to attack them. Formation Gentleman hurriedly said, "Brother Su, victory or defeat depends on this." Su Yu was already prepared. With them temporarily suppressing the 3rd-grade Great Void Beast, it would be easier for Su Yu to attack. Otherwise, with the cultivation of the 3rd-grade Great Void Beast, he would not even be qualified to approach it. Demonic birth from the heart. Su Yu waved his sword without hesitation. The intense demonic flame was extremely penetrating. Even a 3rd-grade Great Void Beast could not help but fall into an illusion. In that moment of absent-mindedness, countless formation flags fell madly, suppressing the giant rat's body and forcing it to the ground. Formation Gentleman was overjoyed. He hurriedly shouted, "Wind Gentleman, Painting Gentleman, attack quickly." The 2 of them were also overjoyed. One of them threw out the last compressed mass of air in his palm, while the other drew a new giant mountain. Their attacks, along with Su Yu's falling sword, struck the Great Void Beast together. Roar! With a roar, the giant rat's body was smashed into 3 pieces, and its soul was obliterated on the spot. The 3 gentlemen were overjoyed that they had smoothly killed the 3rd-grade Great Void Beast. Su Yu's decision to join forces was the right one. Without that domineering demonic sword technique, they would not have been able to kill it. Swoosh! Swoosh! The group of them flew down quickly, surrounding the giant rat. Formation Gentleman laughed heartily. Victory! With the 4 of us joining forces, we can wipe out all the 3rd-grade Great Void Beasts on the island. His words made the 3 gentlemen's hearts race. Previously, they had found it difficult to kill the 2nd-grade Great Void Beast, but after joining forces with Su Yu, killing the 3rd-grade Great Void Beast was surprisingly smooth. Looking at the giant rat's body, the 3 of them were envious, and their eyes began to turn rapidly. Next, it was time to divide the spoils. A Great Void Beast could only be given to one person, but who should they give it to? While the 3 of them were still pondering, Su Yu had already unceremoniously stored the 3 parts of the corpse into a storage artifact. Wind Gentleman was immediately enraged, and his eyes darkened. Su, what are you doing? Formation Gentleman and Painting Gentleman also looked over with dissatisfaction. The third-grade Great Void Beast was dead, so they did not need Suyu anymore. Chapter 1736. The three of them stared at Suyu. There is only one level 3 Great Void Beast. Should I give it to you, Formation Gentleman, Wind Gentleman, or Painting Gentleman? Suyu asked. The three gentlemen looked at each other with complicated expressions. Indeed, one level 3 Great Void Beast was useless, unless each of them had one. There are still many third-grade Great Void Beasts, and with our teamwork, if nothing unexpected happens, we should be able to get one before the end of the 3-day period. So, why should we limit ourselves to what is in front of us? Suyu spoke casually. The three gentlemen fell silent. Wind Gentleman frowned and snorted. Why should we give it to you? After we give it to you, will you still help us deal with level 3 Great Void Beasts? Suyu had just finished cleaning up the giant rat's corpse, but he did not take it. Instead, he threw it to Shui Guanyin. For me. Shui Guanyin was flattered. Suyu looked at the three gentlemen. Is there a problem now? Wind Gentleman twitched his mouth unwillingly, but did not question him any further. All right. I'll trust you this time. I hope you keep your word, Formation Gentleman said. Suyu shrugged. I'll be the last to get the level 3 Great Void Beast, okay? However, the level 2 Great Void Beasts we kill along the way belong to me. The quality of the hunting test was the first criterion. No matter how many level 2 Great Void Beasts they got, they could not compare to a level 3 Great Void Beast. The three gentlemen did not understand why Suyu wanted the level 2 Great Void Beasts, but since he was willing to be the last to get the level 3 Great Void Beasts, it was better than nothing. Alright. There are several level 3 Great Void Beasts nests nearby. Let's eliminate them one by one. The three gentlemen were in high spirits. As they expected, the nests they found next all contained level 3 Great Void Beasts. They were the double-headed savage crocodile, the golden-crowned white-feathered eagle, and the one-eyed stone frog. With the help of Suyu's demonic sword technique, the level 3 Great Void Beasts were hunted very smoothly. Haha, the outcome of the second test has been decided. The three gentlemen have been selected. Formation Gentleman could not help but let out a long sigh. Wind Gentleman wiped the bloodstains on his face and recovered some of his divine power. He looked relaxed. I wonder how many people will be able to hunt the level 3 Great Void Beasts. They had personally fought with level 3 Great Void Beasts, so they knew how terrifying they were. Other than a half-step Sovereign Realm Master, almost no participant had absolute confidence in subduing these beasts, let alone killing them. Painting Gentleman raised his eyebrows and snorted coldly. Young Seer of Mount Brahma Evil Sect thinks highly of himself. Let's see how his hunting results compare to ours. They would never forget the humiliating experience of the Brahma Mountain Evil Sect forcing them to give up their best spot in front of the Great Void Gate. The other two's eyes flashed coldly. Even if he had the trump card to kill the Golden Virgin, he might not be able to kill a level 3 Great Void Beast. At that moment, they heard Suyu say, the three of you, there is still one more day. How about we continue to head towards the half-moon spring? According to the information we received, there is a level 3 Great Void Beast called Moon Demon there. The three gentlemen exchanged glances and nodded slightly. Jinjunzi said, since you have kept your promise, the three of us will not go back on our words. We will help you hunt level 3 Great Void Beasts. When he spoke, there was no expression on his face. However, upon closer inspection, one could see the sly smile hidden deep within his eyes. Suyu was completely unaware of this, so he said, then I shall trouble the three of you. Jinjunzi said with a smile, little brother Su, you are too kind. We are just helping each other. 4 hours later, at the half-moon spring. The half-moon spring was located in a boundless desert. It was a tranquil spring that was shaped like a half-moon. Looking at it from afar, the spring was rippling gently. Green willows hung down in the shade, and it was exceptionally cool. It was hard to believe that such an oasis existed in the desert. Jinjunzi said, that is where the moon demon is, the half-moon spring. Whenever the moonlight shines, the moon demon will appear and absorb the essence of the moon. That is the best time to kill it. Different from the other level 3 great void beasts, the moon demon was a beast formed by the condensation of moonlight. It usually hid in the half-moon spring and rarely showed itself. It would only appear when the moonlight shone. Feng Junzi looked at the sky. There is still an hour before the moon appears. Let's make our preparations according to our previous arrangements. He waved his fan in succession, gathering 3 rapidly rotating balls of compressed green storms. Painting Junzi drew a line in the air, creating a giant colorful stone that floated in the middle of the half-moon lake. As before, the 3 of them were fully prepared. Once the moon demon appeared, it would immediately suppress it. Immediately after, Suyu took the opportunity to use the demonic sword techniques to hypnotize it. The 3 gentlemen were fully prepared. Junzi said, "Brother Su, please be prepared as well. The opportunity is fleeting. You must seize it." Suyu nodded. "I understand." Taking out the Azura sword, Suyu held it tightly in his palm. Once the moon demon appeared, he would cooperate with the 3 gentlemen to launch a powerful attack on it. Time passed slowly. Suyu stared at the half-moon spring, his whole body fused with the desert, motionless. The moon rose slowly from the west. The gentle golden moonlight sprinkled on the emerald half-moon lake, covering the lake with a layer of golden brilliance. Splash! Under the illumination of the golden brilliance, the water of the half-moon lake rippled. A unicorn covered in moonlight slowly emerged from the water. It was exceptionally beautiful. That was the moon demon, a level 3 great void beast. It had been famous for a long time. Tens of thousands of years ago, during the Great Void Hidden Dragon battle, it was already a level 3 great void beast. Seeing Yu Yarrow appear, a Ray gentleman's eyes changed and he growled, "Wind gentleman, painting gentleman, do not hesitate. Attack." His loud shout would undoubtedly startle Yu Yarrow. Blood Guanyin was so angry that her nose was crooked. She actually made a commotion at this time. Was she doing it on purpose? She wasn't wrong. They were doing it on purpose. The formation flags, the storm, and the 5-colored mountains that had enveloped the half-moon lake were now flying towards Suyu. Boom boom boom, endless rumbling sounds could be heard as Suyu was instantly bombarded by the storm. Blood Guanyin was shocked and angry. "You are despicable." She did not expect the 3 gentlemen to launch a sneak attack on Suyu at the critical moment. Array Master's expression was cold as he scoffed. "He's just a lowly ant, yet he made us, the 3 gentlemen of Thousand Water Lake, lower our heads and be humiliated. Shouldn't he be killed?" Feng Junzi had the deepest prejudice against Suyu. He laughed heartily. "He is finally dead. We can no longer swallow our anger." Blood Guanyin shouted angrily, "A bunch of shameless bastard." It was clear that they had a favor to ask of Suyu. She had humbled herself, but now she was blaming Suyu. The most disappointing thing was that Suyu had kept his promise and helped them obtain the 3rd-grade Great Void Beasts. But what about them? After the deed was done, not only did they not keep their promise, but they also launched a sneak attack on Suyu. They were despicable to the core. "Hee, you should accompany him." Array Master laughed coldly, the corners of his mouth curving into a cruel arc. He casually threw out a formation flag and struck Blood Guanyin's chest. With a muffled groan, Blood Guanyin was destroyed by the restrictive power of the formation flag on the spot. Creak, the Array gentleman made a grabbing motion in the air and grabbed the space ring that contained the level 3 Great Void Beast. He laughed. "Ignorant fool. It was so easy to get rid of such a great threat. I thought it would take some effort. It can be said that he used his life to receive our teachings." Feng Junzi sneered. "This is the consequence of offending us 3 gentlemen." Roar, the huge commotion alarmed Yu Yarrow. Yu Yarrow opened his mouth and spat out a vast expanse of white bloodlight, which swept toward the 3 gentlemen. Their expressions changed slightly. "Retreat. Don't get entangled with the 3rd-grade Great Void Beasts. Find a place and wait for the hunting assessment to end." Without Suyu's help, they were exceptionally weak in the face of the 3rd-grade Great Void Beasts. They could not withstand even the slightest attack from the 3rd-grade Great Void Beasts. However, just as they were about to escape, A huge space light appeared around them and locked onto them. Space transfer? Array Master recognized it immediately. Sensing that he had been transported, his expression changed drastically. Oh no, it's a space divine technique. He was extremely shocked. Where did this space divine technique come from? Before they could react, the space energy that had suddenly arrived not only pulled them into the oasis, but also pulled them 30 feet in front of Yu Yarrow. Yu Yarrow was obviously stunned and even subconsciously retreated in shock. But when he came to his senses, Yu Yarrow let out an excited and arrogant shout and spat out intense moonlight at close range. Array Master and the other two gentlemen were caught off guard and were sprayed by the moonlight. Enveloped by the moonlight, their bodies gradually melted and turned into white moonlight. Array Master's expression changed drastically. He yelled anxiously, "Give up the melted body parts and run." He gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with ruthlessness. He drew out a divine weapon and chopped off his moonlight chest. Divine blood splattered and Array Master's face contorted in pain. He clenched his teeth and retreated from the moonlight encirclement, trembling in pain. Wind Master was even more ruthless. His body was corroded by the moonlight and he had no choice but to crush a compressed storm. The powerful storm instantly minced all the flesh and blood on his body, leaving behind only a white skeleton. His soul was attached to the skeleton and he escaped with great difficulty. The most unlucky one was Painting Master, who was closest to Yu Yarrow and had blocked most of the moonlight. His whole body was sprayed and melted into moonlight on the spot. He did not even have time to scream. Third brother, Array Master and Wind Master, who had survived the disaster, let out mournful cries. The three of them had been inseparable for 100,000 years and were as close as brothers. But the third brother, Painting Master, had died so tragically. No, he had been murdered right in front of their eyes. Who framed us? Show yourself. Array Master roared at the sky. His roar shook the heavens and the earth, containing his extreme anger. Wind Master fanned himself, creating hundreds of compressed storms. His eyes were bloodshot like a wild beast's. Hee. A familiar voice floated into their ears. In the words of Array Master, "You are merely using your lives to receive some proper teachings." Array Master and Wind Master were stunned. They turned to look in shock. "You're not dead." They saw the spot where the three peak overlords had just bombarded. After the smoke settled, an unscathed figure appeared. White hair, black eyes, a crown, and plain clothes. Who else could it be but Su Yu? "I'm sorry to disappoint you. I did not die as you had hoped," Su Yu said calmly. The heavenly orchid silver bamboo sword in his palm retracted into his sleeve, and the azura sword fell into his palm. He had never trusted the three gentlemen and had always been on his guard. As expected, they did not keep their promise. Chapter 1737. They were using Su Yu, but wasn't Su Yu also using them? Without the help of the three peak overlords, it would be difficult for Su Yu to kill the level 3 Great Void Beast by himself. Originally, Su Yu didn't plan to take all the Great Void Beasts for himself. However, they had ulterior motives. Since that was the case, he could not blame Su Yu for falling out with him. Demons are born from the heart. Su Yu waved his sword horizontally. The surging demonic flames instantly brought them into a boundless illusory hell. After a brief moment of absent-mindedness, a purplish-black array flag shot out from Formation Gentleman's body. The array flags exploded on their own, releasing a soul-piercing sonic boom. Both Formation Gentleman and Wind Gentleman woke up and blocked the Shura Sect sword's blade in the nick of time. 10,000 array formation. Array Gentleman acted as though he was facing a level 3 Great Void Beast. His sleeves shook violently as he shot out thousands of array flags. The Azura sword's sharp edge cut through countless array flags in its path. It wasn't until hundreds of flags were destroyed that the momentum of the sword weakened and it finally stopped. At that moment, the Shura sword was only 1,000 feet away from the Formation Gentleman's neck. A large drop of cold sweat slid down Array Gentleman's forehead and dripped down along the tip of his nose, creating a few ripples in the half-moon lake. That was close. Array Master's pupils constricted. If he had been a moment later, he and Wind Gentleman would have died under this sword. Wind Gentleman's soul body trembled violently. Having survived the calamity, he hid behind Array Gentleman and screamed, "Array Gentleman, kill him! Kill him now!" Although he was wary of Su Yu's demonic techniques, he was even more fearful after witnessing it for himself. The Array Gentleman took a deep breath and regained his composure. He looked at Su Yu from afar. "It's a pity that you're just a hair's breadth away. This hair, you'll have to use your life to make up for it." The terrifying aura of a peak overlord was released rapidly, suppressing Su Yu. At the same time, he formed a seal with his hands, and a steady stream of powerful formation flags flew out from his wide sleeves, covering half of the sky above the lake. "Brat, you are a rare genius in the way of the sword, but you shouldn't have offended the three of us. In your next life, remember to be smarter and hide your strength," Gentleman Zhen said. With a flick of his fingers, he activated the formation flags that filled the sky. "You've hidden yourself well." Su Yu laughed softly. While he was laughing, his dark brown pupils had already changed silently, turning into a silver color. His black eyes and silver pupils made him look exceptionally noble. Puff, with a slight sound, 2 silver flames shot out from the 2 silver pupils, one on the left and one on the right. The 2 flames merged into one, forming a palm-sized silver bird, which flew over with a whoosh. The moment the silver bird appeared, the Array Gentleman and the Wind Gentleman, who were peak overlords, trembled violently. Especially Gentleman Wind's soul body, it was trembling uncontrollably, as if it was going to collapse at any moment. Array Master shouted, "Go!" Countless formation flags obeyed the order and shot forward. However, the silver bird was not a physical entity. It passed through the formation flag and with a sharp shriek, it passed through Gentleman Feng's soul body. Gentleman Wind's body quickly disintegrated, turning into pieces of soul fragments. The small silver bird sucked in all the soul fragments with its beak. Following that, the silver bird entered the Array Gentleman's body without any obstruction. With a shrill cry of terror, the Array Gentleman's body fell to the ground. With the Array Gentleman's soul body in its beak, the small silver bird flew out of his body and landed on a rock by the shore. It grabbed the soul body and pinned it to the rock. Even though the Array Gentleman's abilities were unparalleled, he was powerless before the small silver bird. "Su Yu, what sorcery are you cultivating?" The Array Gentleman's soul body let out a scream of terror. The silver bird had transformed into a small silver bird, capable of pulling the soul body of a peak overlord out of his body. The most shocking thing was that the small silver bird had a powerful ability to restrain souls. Pressed to the ground, the Array Gentleman could not resist. Su Yu crossed his arms in front of his chest, his expression calm. "Of course it's a hidden trump card, as you said." As Su Yu spoke, the small silver bird pecked down with its sharp beak, devouring the Array Gentleman's soul bit by bit. Not long after, the small silver bird happily spread its wings. The feathers on the surface of its body were clearly clearer than before. "Come back." Su Yu smiled. The small silver bird turned back into 2 balls of flame and returned to the silver pupils. All of a sudden, Su Yu's soul grew several times stronger. His soul strength, which was already at the level of a silver overlord, instantly reached the level of a gold overlord. "I didn't let you down." Su Yu was satisfied with the power of his first attempt at the soul-devouring realm. He could devour the soul of a peak overlord without fail. Of course, the precondition was that the peak overlord was injured first and did not have any treasures or divine arts that could restrain the soul secret technique. Su Yu retracted his silver pupils and leaped around, finding 3 space storage devices from their corpses. After some thought, Su Yu tossed one to Shui Guanyin and said, "2 for each of us." Shui Guanyin caught it and thought for a moment before tossing it back calmly. She shook her head and said, "Thank you, Brother Su Yu. 1 is enough for me. It should be enough for me to rank in the top 20. Su Yu did not hesitate and cleared out the 3 storage devices on the spot. Apart from the 3 level 3 great void beasts, there were also the lifetime resources of the 3 gentlemen of the Thousand Water Lake. Many of the rare divine objects of the Constellation Ocean civilization were in their possession. "The great void beasts are mine. You can have half of the resources," Su Yu said. Shui Guanyin did not refuse again. She smiled sweetly and said, "Thank you, Brother Suyu. How do you want me to repay you? As she spoke, she deliberately approached Suyu. The refreshing fragrance of a young lady wafted into Suyu's nose, stirring his emotions. He looked sideways and saw a mischievous smile on Shueguanin's face. She seemed to be teasing him, but there was a hint of shyness in her expression. Suyu smiled and teased her. He looked at her body, which had just begun to develop, and said, "How about giving yourself to me?" Swish. Shueguanin's pretty face turned red immediately. She was at a loss of what to do. She stammered, "Brother Suyu, don't be like this. I'm cultivating a jade woman-type cultivation technique. I can't give it to you yet." After she finished speaking, she lowered her head and muttered, "But, if Brother Suyu really wants it, I can, about this, maybe next time." Suyu's face twitched unnaturally. He was just teasing her. Who would have thought that Shueguanin would really fall for him? Suyu really did not want to be distracted by other emotions. "It's almost time. Let's go back," Suyu said as he stood up. Shueguanin swallowed the words that were on the tip of her tongue. She glared at Suyu with some resentment and muttered, "Blockhead." But on second thought, even the holy maiden of the joyous union holy ground was defeated, so she felt relieved. Suyu counted his harvest this time. There were 3 third-grade Great Void Beasts, 38 second-grade Great Void Beasts, and 0 first-grade Great Void Beast. Hence, he had requested the 3 gentlemen of the Thousand Water Lake to let Suyu have all the level 2 Great Void Beasts that he had killed during the hunt. If they were unable to capture enough level 3 Great Void Beasts, they would have to use enough level 2 Great Void Beasts to secure a spot in the top 20. With so many Great Void Beasts, it should be more than enough to get into the top 10, right? Suyu felt relieved. As several rays of light descended and enveloped their bodies, Suyu and Shueguanin were transported back to the door of the Great Void. Looking around, out of the initial 100 or so people who entered, there were less than 60 people left. The rest were all buried on the isolated island. Haha, congratulations on coming back alive. The incarnation of Bei Wang Chen's arrogance put on a fake smile and said, "Then, those who did not manage to hunt the Great Void Beast, please get lost." Such a contemptuous remark really aroused public anger. Let's get lost. If I had known that it would be an unreasonable and dangerous mission like hunting Great Void Beasts, I wouldn't have participated in the Hidden Void Dragon contest even if you begged me. Humph. The person who spoke had wounds all over his body, some of which looked extremely hideous. It was obvious that he had tried his best. "I will leave too." A pretty woman with red eyes followed him and left reluctantly. "All of you, leave. They didn't treat us like humans at all." People left one after another, and in the end, there were only 40 people left. "What a bunch of defeated dogs," Ao Seong said disdainfully. He then turned to look at the crowd and said, "Then, take out your prey. Based on this ranking, the top 20 will enter the 3rd segment of the test, and the rest will be eliminated." The crowd looked at each other, then slowly took out their prey. Most of them had hunted level 1 Great Void Beasts, and only a few of them had hunted level 3 Great Void Beasts. However, there were only a few of them. Suyu observed them secretly and discovered that their prey was much lesser than he had imagined. There were only 4 people who had hunted level 3 Great Void Beasts, and there were only 5 of them, including him. This meant that it wouldn't be a problem for him to enter the top 5. After thinking for a moment, Suyu didn't take out the level 3 Great Void Beasts, but 18 level 2 Great Void Beasts. With such a large number of prey, he could be ranked in the top 10, and his position wouldn't attract any attention. "Hand them over," Bei Wang Ao Seong said calmly. The people present then stepped forward and handed over their prey one by one. The first was a white-clothed man, who handed over a level 1 Great Void Beast. Ao Seong didn't even look at him as he announced his fate calmly, "Take some prizes and leave. You won't have a chance to enter the top 20. The white-clothed man hesitated for a moment, then bowed and said, "I know I won't be able to enter the top 20, but I hope to be loyal to you from now on." Hee hee. The arrogant man glanced at him out of the corner of his eye, but didn't look at him directly. He chuckled and said, "Do you know that I don't keep any useless people under my name?" Creak. The white-clothed man clenched his fists and lowered his head. He cupped his fists at Ao Xiong silently, then turned around and left quietly. Bei Wang Chen was really cruel, Su Yu thought to himself. As he recalled Xianji's death, Su Yu felt that this man was even more unreliable. The next people presented more than 2 prey, but they were all level 1 great void beasts. Ao Xiong's expression was indifferent, and he didn't look at them directly until a green-clothed female Taoist nun presented a level 2 great void beast and 8 level 1 great void beasts. Oh! Finally, someone useful has appeared. Ao Xiong tilted his head and sized up the female Taoist nun. Excitement appeared on the female Taoist nun's face when she heard that. Chapter 1738. The female Daoist nun's expression stiffened and she walked back with a desolate expression. Isn't that the Southern Wasteland's divine nun, Ding Kuan? It's her. Her strength has long reached the peak of the mystic crystal overlord. It's really rare for her to be able to hunt a level 2 great void beast. Who would have thought that such a famous figure is not worthy of Bei Wang Chen's attention? Rumor has it that Bei Wang Chen is extremely strict in selecting the guests behind the scenes. He would rather have nothing than to have someone substandard. It seems like the rumor is true. Next, Bei Wang Chen said lazily. Following that, more and more level 2 great void beasts were presented. The most powerful person presented 7 level 2 great void beasts in one go, which shocked everyone. Ao Xiong was finally moved. He raised his eyes and looked at the other party. What's your name? Emotionless Saber Emperor. The person who had killed the 7 level 2 great void beasts was none other than the merciless Blade Emperor, who had traveled together with Su Yu. Ao Xiong frowned slightly. In front of me, you are not qualified to be called an emperor. Remove the word emperor and change your name to Heartless Saber. The emotionless Saber monarch's eyes showed a slight struggle before he agreed. He said, "Many thanks for bestowing the name, Prince. From now on, you're my guest behind the scenes," Proud Lord said with a smile. Heartless Saber monarch was extremely excited when he heard this. When Empress Ziwei was taken away, he was also the one who was humiliated. Now, he had finally proven that he was not inferior to Empress Ziwei. When he returned to the crowd, his gaze fell upon Su Yu. His gaze was filled with provocation, as if he was saying, "You didn't expect that I would hunt so many level 2 great void beasts, did you?" As for his provocation, Su Yu did not take it to heart and was not surprised at all. Although the merciless Blade King had not shown enough strength along the way, he was still the successor of a divine warrior of heaven and earth after all. How could he be lacking in hidden techniques? Next, Ao Xiong said indifferently. There were only a few people left who hadn't offered anything. Su Yu was one of them. "Young man." A seductive voice that could make one's bones go numb sounded in his ears. Su Yu did not need to turn his head to know who it was. Casually taking a few steps to the side, Su Yu said, "Saint Lady, please behave yourself." "Hehe, I like your serious look. You're so handsome. I really want to press you to the ground and do it." The Concord Saintess licked her lips, a look of regret on her face. "It's a pity that I didn't meet you on the island, but I've been thinking about you. Look, didn't I bring back 2 prey for you?" She took out 2 level 1 great void beasts' corpses and presented them to Su Yu. She then said with a smile, "You didn't get anything from the isolated island, did you? Here, I'll support you. At least you won't be so embarrassed." She assumed that the reason why Su Yu hadn't come forward yet was because of the lack of prey. Su Yu glanced at the 2 great void beasts out of the corner of his eye, and he couldn't help but find them familiar. Why did it look like he had thrown it away? Shaking his head, Su Yu said, "I'm sorry, but I don't need it. Take it back." The Concord Saintess was slightly surprised. "Are you sure?" She didn't think that Su Yu could kill many great void beasts with his current cultivation. In fact, he might even barely kill a single great void beast. Su Yu said coldly, "Take it back." The Joyous Union Saintess retracted her hand, somewhat displeased. She lazily laughed, "Hehe," the word hehe was full of contempt. "If you don't want it, I'll keep it for myself." The Joyous Union Saintess swayed her hips and walked forward step by step, presenting the prey to Su Yu with a smile. There were 13 level 2 great void beasts. With such a large number of level 2 great void beasts, It was a new record. The corners of Ao Seong's mouth curled into a smile of approval. As expected of a member of the royal family of the Joyous Union civilization. Very good. I sincerely invite you to join me as a guest behind the scenes. The Joyous Union Saintess smiled sweetly. I'm willing. The Joyous Union Saintess rolled her eyes and said, Prince, I see that human is calm and confident. Why don't you take a look at his prey first? I believe it will definitely surprise you. Ao Seong's sharp eyes locked onto Suyu immediately. He sized him up and laughed mockingly. I've observed this person for a long time. He is indeed calm and composed. There are usually two types of people like him. The first type is a real expert, so he is confident and composed. The Joyous Union Saintess smiled sweetly. What about the second type? Ao Seong leaned back on his throne and scrutinized Suyu. He curled his lips and said, the second type is a good-for-nothing who is pretending to be strong. Fat. The Joyous Union Saintess covered her mouth and chuckled. Prince, which type do you think he is? Haha, won't you know once you take a look? Ao Seong crooked his finger. You, come here. Suyu was pointed at, but his expression did not change. He said calmly, are you talking to me? There is no one else but you. Ao Seong was extremely arrogant. Bring out your prey and broaden my horizons. Everyone present opened their eyes wide. It's him. The evil force that assassinated competitors in the Ghost Swamp. Humph. He deserves to be humiliated by the Joyous Union Saintess. Haha, does he really think that the Joyous Union Saintess is interested in him? That's why he dares to embarrass her. How dare he reject her good intentions? Haha, women are the most vengeful, especially a peerless beauty like the Joyous Union Saintess. Tell me, how many prey can he bring out? TSK. How many can he bring out with his meager cultivation? Didn't you see that the 3 gentlemen of the 1,000-water lake will never come out? He's just a small bronze overlord. It's already a great fortune for him to come back alive. How many prey can you expect him to bring back? Haha, what if he hunts down a level 2 great void beast? Judging from the current situation, one level 2 great void beast can get him into the top 30. 3 or more will get him into the top 20. You're really naive. How can there be so many what ifs in this world? Just watch, he'll most likely return empty-handed. As they watched, Suyu walked out of the crowd and came before Ao Seong. Bring out your prey. Ao Seong's lips curled into a cold smile. Suyu asked calmly, what do you want? Heh, how arrogant. Ao Seong's expression became stern. Bring out all your prey. Oh. Suyu's expression remained unchanged. He reached out and took out a level 2 great void beast from the space storage device. All of a sudden, the crowd erupted. Hiss. Oh my god, he really hunted down a level 2 great void beast. That's impossible. How did he manage to do it with his cultivation? Ao Seong's lips were still curled into a cold smile. He opened his mouth and said, he wanted to say, just like that. But before he could finish his sentence, Suyu took out another one. Ao Seong swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue. He said, just like that, smack. Suyu took out a third and threw it on the ground. Ao Seong's face stiffened. He stared at Suyu. 3. Barely. Smack. The fourth one. Ao Seong was slightly angered. How many do you have? Bring them all out for me. I want to see how many you can take out. Smack. The fifth one. Smack. The sixth one. Smack. Ao Seong's expression stiffened when the number of beasts reached 7. The heartless Saber Emperor clenched his fists indignantly. As for the Union Saint Lady, her face was full of shock. She stared at Suyu with a gleam of astonishment in her eyes. As for the crowd, they were all dumbfounded as they looked at Suyu, who was smashing the level 2 great void beasts' corpses one after another. Suyu stopped and asked Ao Seong, do you want to continue? Chapter 1739. Everyone was shocked once more. The guests behind the scenes of Bei Wang Chen are also divided into grades. That heartless saber monarch can only be ranked in the 9th grade. He is the lowest grade behind-the-scenes guest. People like the all-pleasure saintess can be ranked in the middle grade. As far as I know, there are only a few high-grade behind-the-scenes guests. That's why I'm surprised by Bei Wang Chen's decision. Is he being serious or is he speaking out of anger? Of course it was said out of anger. How could a mere bronze overlord be qualified to be a high-level guest behind the scenes? I'm afraid the other princes and princesses will laugh at Bei Wang Chen to death. Is that so? I feel that Bei Wang Chen is serious. A youth with a head full of purple hair said thoughtfully, just as you have said, the other party is merely a bronze overlord. However, if this bronze overlord is able to do something that only a pinnacle overlord can do, don't you think that this kid's potential is extremely terrifying? As soon as he said that, everyone's heart shuddered. Yes, if the bronze overlord could really kill 13 level 2 great void beasts, then how terrifying would it be when it grew to become a peak overlord? If they didn't take in such a talented person with such great potential as soon as possible, were they going to hand him over to the enemy? Understanding Bei Wang Chen's thoughts, the crowd exclaimed inwardly. It really isn't a coincidence that Bei Wang Chen could become the strongest among all the princes. His shrewd and ruthless eyesight isn't something ordinary people can match. So, Bei Wang Chen is trying to goad him into action? Bei Wang Chen stared at Su Yu and asked coldly, "Why aren't you moving? Or is that all you are?" Su Yu paused for a moment before he took out 5 level 2 great void beasts. In addition to the previous 7, there were a total of 12 level 2 great void beasts. "This is all I have." Su Yu spread out his hands. The Union Saint lady heaved a sigh of relief, but the way she stared at Su Yu was very different from before. There was a faint trace of fear, but also a deeper desire to possess him. The women of the joyous Union Holy Ground paid particular attention to harvesting yang to nourish their yin. The stronger the man, the more yang qi they harvested, and the stronger their cultivation would be. He, after such a long time, I've finally found a prey that this saintess will use any means necessary to capture. The Concord saintess licked her lips, her eyes blazing. In the crowd, there were those who felt pity and those who exclaimed in admiration. 12. Hiss, unbelievable. It's hard to believe that all of these were killed by a puny bronze overlord like him. But it's a pity. I only need one more to meet Bei Wang Chen's requirement and become his high-level guest behind the scenes. Sigh. It is indeed a pity that he missed the greatest opportunity of his life. 12 of them. Bei Wang Chen stared at the prey on the ground and his ashen face gradually revealed a smile. He clapped his hands and laughed. Ha ha ha, this is out of my expectation. Another dark horse has appeared in this year's Cosmic Hidden Dragon competition. This is truly a gift from the heavens. He looked at Su Yu, stood up, and said in a loud voice, "Tell me your name." "Su Yu." Bei Wang Chen murmured. He didn't allow anyone to interfere. He waved his sleeve and wrote down 2 words in the sky, Su Yi. The name Su Yu is too ordinary and does not match your shocking potential. I will personally change your name to Su Yi, meaning number 1. Bei Wang Chen smiled proudly. Only in this way is he worthy of my identity as a high-level guest behind the scenes. Everyone was extremely envious. In the end, he lowered his status and accepted Su Yu as a high-level guest behind the scenes. Su Yu put down the corpse of the great void beast, turned around, and returned to the crowd. "Su Yi, come behind me. You are qualified to stand 30 feet behind me." Bei Wang Chen waved his hand and said. Su Yu remained motionless, standing in the crowd without saying anything. "Hey, Su Yi, as my guest behind the scenes, do you know that you must always listen to your master's orders? I asked you to come, so listen to my orders now." Bei Wang Chen said unhappily. Su Yu said indifferently, "Firstly, my name is Su Yu, the name that was born in this world. You are not qualified to change my name. Secondly, I am not your guest behind the scenes, and you are not my master." As soon as these 2 sentences were uttered, the crowd fell into a dead silence. After a long while, someone said in shock, He refused to become Bei Wang Chen's guest behind the scenes? Isn't this crazy? How could someone refuse Bei Wang Chen? Everyone was shocked, as no one had expected Su Yu to refuse. Bei Wang Chen's eyes turned gloomy, and he said in a mysterious tone, "You mean, you refuse to pledge your loyalty to me?" Su Yu said, "You are not qualified to make me pledge my loyalty." The 2 of them looked at each other. Although both of them were calm, Everyone could feel the oppressive atmosphere between them. Beads of murderous intent were released from Bei Wang Chen's eyes. Fine, you are the first, and you will also be the last. After Bei Wang Chen finished his sentence, he slowly closed his eyes and said, "Next, bring me the prey." Everyone held their breaths, as they were afraid that they would disturb Bei Wang Chen and be remembered by him. However, their eyes were filled with pity as they looked at Su Yu. Those who refuse Bei Wang Chen's invitation never have a good ending. Back then, the Heaven's Pride king of the Sky Mountain civilization, young Master Chijue, was extremely talented. He won the Great Void Hidden Dragon Crown and became famous for a period of time. Later on, he suddenly died because he refused Bei Wang Chen's invitation and was killed by Bei Wang Chen. I'm afraid this lad will follow in young Master Chijue's footsteps. While people were sighing and lamenting, the test continued. Let me do it. A good-looking woman stepped forward slowly. She took out a snow-white deer, which was exceptionally pure and holy. A level 3 Great Void Beast. Someone recognized it immediately and exclaimed in shock. Hiss! How can a level 3 Great Void Beast be killed? The cultivation of a level 3 Great Void Beast is usually at the level of a peak overlord. Together with the horrifying power of nothingness, it is as difficult as defeating a half-world divine warrior. Is she one of the people brought here by Bei Wang Chen? Wait, I think I have seen her before. She is the #1 overlord of the Luohe civilization, a 1.5-star civilization. Her name is Luotian. If it's her, then there's nothing strange about it. She's very strong and has already defeated a half-step sovereign realm expert many years ago. Unexpectedly, she also chose to follow Bei Wang Chen. Luotian smiled faintly. I did not disappoint you. I offer you a level 3 Great Void Beast. Bei Wang Chen, who had a gloomy expression, curled his lips into a smile. Great. As expected of Luotian. You will be rewarded handsomely when we return. Thank you, Your Highness. Luotian came to his back obediently. She looked proud of being valued by Bei Wang Chen. Next, the other people brought by Bei Wang Chen presented their prey one after another. Surprisingly, they all had a bountiful harvest. The lowest number of level 2 Great Void Beasts was 3, and the highest was 14, which surpassed the Acacia Saint. What was more shocking was that this woman was stunningly beautiful and exceptionally elegant. She stood shoulder to shoulder with the Acacia Saint. The Acacia Saint, who was famous for her charm, was outshone by this woman. Haha, Ziwei is not bad either. Given time, she will surely break through the glazed crystal overlord's barrier. Bei Wang Chen's eyes were full of admiration. The beautiful woman's cold and arrogant face was filled with respect. It is all thanks to your guidance. You will be rewarded when we return. Bei Wang Chen was in high spirits. There was Luotian and a beautiful woman who was not inferior to Su Yu. He could not help but be in high spirits. Who else has not presented their prey? Me. Shui Guanyin walked out of the crowd and came to Bei Wang Chen. Bei Wang Chen glanced at her. Golden Overlord. Well, hand over your prey and let me see. Shui Guanyin's space storage device was flicked, and 3 parts of the enormous white snake's carcass were thrown out and fell on the ground. Everyone's faces changed when they saw the carcass. Level 3 Great Void Beast. Hiss, here comes another genius girl who hides her strength. This year's Hidden Void Dragon competition is really weird. There are countless genius girls, and all of them are stunningly beautiful. On the other hand, the men are. Bei Wang Chen's pupils constricted. He could not help but be moved. He knew how difficult it was to hunt a level 3 Great Void Beast. Great! Bei Wang Chen exclaimed. I didn't expect that apart from my Luotian, there is someone else who can kill a level 3 Great Void Beast. What is your name? He stared at Shui Guanyin with eyes full of admiration. Shui Guanyin did not answer. Instead, she turned to Su Yu and blinked her eyes playfully. Brother Su Yu, I will listen to you. Su Yu said, if you don't want your name to be changed, come back. She said to Bei Wang Chen apologetically, I'm sorry, Brother Su Yu told me not to talk to you. As she spoke, she turned around and came to Su Yu's side. Then, she stood behind him obediently, as if she would only listen to him. Bei Wang Chen's smile froze and turned cold gradually. Hehe, fine, I will remember all of you. Next. Bei Wang Chen snorted. Xiaoxie of the Mount Fan evil faction walked out of the crowd with a faint evil smile on his face. I am willing to serve you and teach some arrogant people a lesson. He took out a level 3 Great Void Beast's corpse and placed it on the ground gently. It was another level 3 Great Void Beast. The crowd was already numb to it. The Mount Fan evil faction is really unimaginable. First, they killed the Golden Maiden and intimidated the 3 gentlemen of the Thousand Water Lake. Now, they have successfully hunted down a level 3 Great Void Beast. It seems they are not simple. Yes, they must have a trump card. Bei Wang Chen sized him up and smiled. Welcome to my behind-the-scenes guess. Thank you, Prince. Xiaoxie glanced at Su Yu and Xue Guanyin with a smile. Anyone else? Bei Wang Chen asked indifferently. Waves of death energy came from the crowd. The crowd parted and made way for a young man with a sword wrapped in death energy. He stepped forward and threw down a level 3 Great Void Beast. Then, he walked back without saying a word. He did not say a word from the beginning to the end. Another level 3 Great Void Beast. Surprisingly, Bei Wang Chen frowned as he stared at the young man. He didn't try to recruit him. Fear could be seen in his eyes. After pondering for a while, Bei Wang Chen came back to his senses and said, "The second segment of the exam has ended. The top 20, please step forward." He waved his sleeves and gathered the images of the 20 people with his divine energy. The top 4 were the strong men who had successfully hunted down level 3 Great Void Beasts. Luotian, Xue Guanyin, Xiaoxie, and the unknown death energy strong man. Empress Ziwei, the Union Saint, and Su Yu were the next. Su Yu was only ranked 7th. Those who were lucky enough to make it into the top 20 broke out in cold sweat. That was close. The competition this time is too intense. In the past, one only needed to kill 3 level 2 Great Void Beasts to enter the top 20. This time, one can't enter without killing at least 8 level 2 Great Void Beast. Exactly. This time, there are many dark horses, and each one is more shocking than the last. Chapter 1740. Yes, it's time to test our strength. I wonder how many of those dark horses are the real deal. Bei Wang Chen sat back on his throne, looked at everyone with disdain and said, "The third assessment, enter the cauldron." The rules of the third segment once again changed unexpectedly. The gate of Great Void opened again, revealing the lone island. What was different was that a purple glow had appeared in the center of the island. Under the illumination of the glow, a mysterious and noble purple cauldron stood towering like a human emperor. Looking at this cauldron, everyone's hearts trembled, and they felt as if they were ants facing a lofty world. Somehow, they felt the indescribably terrifying and powerful aura suppressed in the king's tripod. That was the fate of the Dayu Empire that had been suppressed in one area. This time, you're not here to hunt great void beasts. You're here to kill each other. Anyone who can kill 2 people is qualified to enter the king's tripod. What? Everyone was enraged once again. What kind of T assessment is this? I give up. You guys can play however you want. Yang Ming, who was ranked 20th, gave up on the spot. I give up too. What kind of joke is this? Exchanging pointers is one thing, but killing each other? What do you take me for? The 19th ranked person immediately gave up. They were here to look for opportunities, not to be stepping stones. With their strength, they would only be hunted down and killed if they really tried to hunt them down. This truly infuriated many people. Only a few people had sinister smiles on their faces, because this was exactly what they wanted. The cosmic hidden dragon is only meaningful now that the trash has left. Hehe, is there anyone else who wants to scram? If not, let's begin. Bei Wang Chen shouted coldly. The rest of the light glared at Su Yu, their gazes vicious and sinister. Xiao Xie, the Hehuan Saint Maiden, and Luotian, who had been instructed, all cast unfriendly looks at Su Yu. Xue Guanyin's heart tightened. She hugged Su Yu's arm and said, "Brother Su Yu, let's make a long-term plan. They clearly want to make us their targets. Each of those 3 people was stronger than the 3 gentlemen of the Thousand-Water Lake. If he was surrounded and hunted by them, no matter how powerful Su Yu was, he would not be able to turn the situation around. Su Yu shook his head and asked, "What's there to be afraid of?" When he finished speaking, he dragged the blood guanine and stepped onto the isolated island. What was different from before was that no one was teleported separately. Instead, they were all teleported to the same place. Those who were slightly more alert fled like rabbits the moment their feet touched the ground. Those who were clumsy were killed before they could even react. Su Yu had just landed on the ground when he felt a gust of evil wind assaulting him from behind. Without hesitation, he turned his hand around and struck out with the demon born of mind. A muffled sound rang out, and a life force was extinguished on the spot. He had successfully killed one person, and a small cauldron mark appeared between his brows. "Let's go." Su Yu carried the blood guanine and flapped the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole. Not long after, the place was filled with blood and corpses. Apart from the few who had escaped in the beginning, the others who had not been able to escape were all killed. That lad with the surname Su escaped really quickly. My people were just about to catch him, but he killed them with a single sword strike. Xiao Xie's brows were sunken. It was obvious that he was afraid of Su Yu. Luotian nodded, a look of astonishment appeared in her eyes. "There's also that stranger covered in death chi. He fled very quickly as well. The prince secretly told me to get rid of him. I'll chase after him. Hehe, I'm still more interested in the boy with the surname Su." The Union Saint Maiden licked her lips and looked in Su Yu's direction. Thus, the crowd was divided into 2 groups. Luotian, the beautiful woman, and the others chased after the man with the death chi. Xiao Xie, the Union Saint Maiden, and a few evil faction members chased after Su Yu. The Union Saint Maiden took out the flying treasure, the peach blossom, and said with a smile, "The boy with the surname Su is quite fast. Unfortunately, he can't escape from the peach blossom mirror that I refined with pure yin energy." With a fling of her slender palm, the peach blossom grew in the wind and became 1,000 feet long. Everyone in splendid attire chased after Su Yu. Su Yu continuously teleported, heading straight for the Beishan King Cauldron. "Brother Su Yu, that is the Beishan King Cauldron. How are we going to get it?" Su Yu shook his head. "I don't know. The King Cauldron contains the destiny of the Dayu Empire, as well as the past kings of the Beishan lineage. How could it be easy to steal it?" Then, Blood Guanine pouted. "I really don't understand why the Chief Pavilion Master arranged an impossible task for us." Su Yu pondered and sighed. "Perhaps the Chief Pavilion Master doesn't want us to go back." The closer they got to the Beishan King Cauldron, the more difficult the task became. Without Su Yu's many trump cards, they would not have been able to get this far. "Don't want us to go back? What do you mean?" Blood Guanine was confused. Su Yu had a bad premonition and said, "I hope it's just my guess." Suddenly, Su Yu looked up at the heavenly eyes above his head and was slightly surprised. As expected of the Acacia civilization. In addition to the path of yin and yang, they are also very accomplished in the path of magical treasures. Humph, that Acacia saint won't stop until she gets Brother Su Yu. "Brother Su Yu is really popular," Blood Guanine teased. Su Yu smiled bitterly. "I'd rather not be welcomed like this. They are catching up. Let's go to the vicinity of the Beishan King Cauldron. Most of the contestants should be gathered there. The chaos is more beneficial to us." Swoosh. Su Yu teleported away. The Acacia Saint and Xiao Xie closed in, quickly closing the distance. When the huge Beishan King Cauldron was right in front of them, the peach blossom mirror caught up with Su Yu. "Peach blossom tree transference." The Acacia Saint shouted softly. Peach blossom trees emerged from the ground one after another, filling the endless mountains and rivers, dyeing the entire area pink. These peach blossom trees greatly obstructed one's line of sight. Su Yu's heavenly eyes were cut off. Ordinary vision could not penetrate the peach blossom forest. Illusory spell? Su Yu was slightly surprised. "Hehe, young man, you still haven't escaped from my grasp." The Acacia Saint's enchanting figure descended gracefully. Xiao Xie, who was full of evil energy, stood shoulder to shoulder, approaching Su Yu step by step. Defying the crown prince, you have a death wish. Both of them were powerful and extraordinary, especially the Acacia Saint. Su Yu had not been able to see through her cultivation. Acacia Saint, you watch from the side. Let me take care of Su Yu, Xiao Xie said with a sinister smile. The Acacia Saint smiled faintly. Why should I leave such an opportunity for you to make a contribution? You come from a 2-star civilization, so you should not be short of resources. I am in dire need of them. Xiao Xie tried to negotiate. The Acacia Saint shook her head resolutely. No, I will not stop until I have a taste of the man I like. In desperation, Xiao Xie could only say, then let's see who succeeds first. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Xie immediately rushed over. The terrifying aura of a peak overlord came crashing down like a huge wave. The Acacia Saint was slightly angered. Humph, stealing my man, you are courting death. She grabbed with her hand, and a lotus flew out from her palm. It wrapped around Xiao Xie, and she flew backward. The Acacia Saint lightly tapped the ground with her feet, and with a leap, she brushed past Xiao Xie, who was flying backward. She giggled. It seems like I have beaten you to it. Puff. However, the moment they brushed past, a small purple snake-shaped sword flew out of Xiao Xie's sleeve, piercing through the Acacia Saint's chest. Her whole body immediately turned purple, and she festered into a pool of muddy water. Ah! Divine water of corpse transformation. Xiao Xie, how did you get the divine item of the corpse clan? As she screamed, the Acacia Saint completely melted into a pool of stagnant water. Swish! Xiao Xie broke free from the lotus, and his lips curled into a deep evil smile. Hehe, Acacia Saint, you are nothing more than this. Killing you is a piece of cake. The sudden change of events surprised Su Yu and Shui Guanyin. They were both guests behind the scenes of Bei Wang Chen, so why did they suddenly kill each other? That was until the Acacia Saint revealed Xiao Xie's identity, the Corpse Clan. Xiao Xie was a spy sent by the Corpse Clan. Su Yu was shocked. The Corpse Clan's shadow even existed in the Dayu Empire. Xiao Xie glanced at Su Yu and Shui Guanyin with a sinister smile, and said mockingly, you two are lucky. My target is the Acacia Saint, this whore. Get lost, don't ruin my plans. It turned out that his target was never Su Yu, but the Acacia Saint. Su Yu retreated quietly, and together with Shui Guanyin, they slowly retreated out of the peach blossom forest that had already collapsed. Looking at the pool of muddy water on the ground, Xiao Xie chuckled. Getting rid of the Acacia Saint, I believe you will get a lot of rewards from the Corpse Kings, right? He bent down to collect a trace of the muddy water that the Acacia Saint had turned into with a jade artifact. Bring it back as a witness. Unexpectedly, just as he bent down, from the muddy water, a sharp claw with ghastly nails suddenly stretched out and grabbed Xiao Xie's throat. As a peak overlord, he could not break free no matter how hard he tried. The sharp nails dug into his flesh bit by bit, until half of his neck was about to be squeezed off. Ooah! Ooah! Xiao Xie could not make a sound. He could only stare in horror at the peach tree that was gradually rising from the muddy water. On the peach tree, a stunning beauty with an enchanting figure was sitting elegantly. Who else could it be but the Acacia Saint? At this moment, her charm was nowhere to be seen. Instead, her eyes were cold as she stared at Xiao Xie. I never thought that the Corpse Clan would dare to set foot in the Dayu Empire. You are here for the Beishan King Cauldron, aren't you? Xiao Xie twisted his body and kept struggling. It's useless. Your essence has been absorbed by my peach blossom hand. You are already dead. As soon as I let go, you will immediately turn into ashes, the Acacia Saint said. Only then did Xiao Xie stop struggling and nod, agreeing with her guess. Then, in the Ghost Swamp, those who assassinated the contestants were actually your people, the Acacia Saint asked. Xiao Xie nodded. The Acacia Saint's eyes were cold as she slowly loosened her fingers. Who else is your companion? Is it that human? Xiao Xie's eyes turned and he actually nodded. I see, the Acacia Saint said coldly. I already felt that he was unusual. So he is from the Corpse Clan. She loosened her hand, and Xiao Xie's body really started burning. Like withered wood, he burned into ashes. Corpse clan, her. Mph, I cannot let you live. The acacia saint's red robe fluttered in the wind. Her long black hair danced in the wind, making her cold jade face look extremely stern. Swoosh, a red afterimage was left behind, along with a terrifying aura that was not inferior to Bei Wang Chen's. Chapter 1741. The cultivation that she had concealed was actually this powerful. It was strange that with such strength, why was she willing to be Bei Wangchen's guest behind the scenes? Even stranger, with her strength, she had not successfully hunted a level 3 great void beast. Su Yu, who was completely unaware of this, and Shui Guanyin arrived within 1,000,000 miles of the Beishan King Cauldron. Through the heavenly eyes, he could see everything within 1,000,000 miles. The youth stood in front of the two corpses, slowly sheathing his sword. The tip of the sword was dripping with divine blood. Luotian and Empress Ziwei chased after the youth. Of course, Su Yu would not ignore that there were already several strong candidates lurking around the cauldron, eyeing Su Yu and Shui Guanyin. Screech! The shrill sound of something breaking through the air broke the silence. Finally, there were people who could not wait and chose to attack Su Yu and Shui Guanyin. A large number of snow-white sparks suddenly attacked Su Yu. Su Yu swept his sword without hesitation. Demon Moon revolving style. The arc-shaped sword energy swept out, blocking the dense white sparks for a moment. Shui Guanyin's eyes flashed, and her palms quickly formed a seal. Deliver all living beings from suffering. The light of mercy scattered from her body, and the stagnant sparks were all extinguished. Rustle. There were a few slight noises coming from the depths of the forest. They had chosen to escape. Su Yu's eyes were cold. Demons are born from the heart. The demonic flames surged down, pulling all the creatures within 100,000 feet into an illusion. Crack. Then, they were all swept and cut by the all-pervasive sword. When the dust settled, there were indeed 2 or 3 corpses lying among the broken branches and dead trees. One of them was dead, and the other 2 were dying and had lost the ability to resist. Su Yu touched his forehead. There were 2 small cauldron marks, and he had successfully passed the 3rd assessment. I'll leave the remaining 2 to you. Shui Guanyin smiled gratefully, and then her face turned cold as she decisively executed them. Since they attacked first, there was no need for her to be merciful. Soon, 2 small cauldron marks also appeared on her forehead. Putting away the Azura sword, Su Yu looked at the Beishan King Cauldron. We are the only ones left. The youth, Luotian, the beautiful woman, and the 2 of them. A total of 5 people. In the past, only the top 3 could enter the North Letter King Cauldron to comprehend. This time, anyone who killed 2 people could enter. The reason was probably because the 3rd test was too cruel, which was why the time limit was extended. Let's go and take a look inside the Beishan Wang tripod. Su Yu said. Not only did he want to comprehend it, but he also wanted to test if he could get the Beishan King Cauldron from the inside. Using the Tai Chi Yin-Yang wings, the 2 came to the front of the Wang Ding in an instant. The incomparably huge Wang Ding stood in front of it, and it could not see the end of it. It would be difficult for an ordinary cavern world to contain such a huge object. Enter. Su Yu's figure flickered, arriving above the cauldron. There was a bronze lid above the king tripod, which sealed the top, leaving only a door of light and shadow. Su Yu and Shui Guanyin stepped into the door of light and shadow at the same time. The 2 small cauldron marks on their foreheads immediately reacted and projected 2 small cauldron projections onto the door of light and shadow. Only then did the gate of light and shadow dim down, revealing a colorful cave entrance. The majestic and profound nation Fate Chi swept out like a huge wave, causing one to feel reverence in their heart. The 2 of them stepped in and successfully entered the Beishan Wang tripod. The surrounding scenery changed, and when they opened their eyes, they saw a bronze statue. It was towering and huge, standing in the center of the colorful light. The statue had a majestic face and an extraordinary bearing, vaguely giving people great pressure. The founding emperor of the Dayu Empire. Shui Guanyin's eyes flickered with awe and admiration. He founded the Dayu civilization single-handedly, and forged the 9 cauldrons to suppress the fate of the empire, the legendary figure. Su Yu glanced at it briefly, and his eyes fell on the hands of the bronze statue. His hands were clasped, as if he was holding something, but upon closer inspection, his hands were empty. Is there something missing? Su Yu was slightly puzzled. But no matter what, he had come to the inside of the Beishan Wang tripod, and it was time to find a way to take it away. After looking around, Su Yu helplessly discovered that the inside of the Beishan Wang tripod was like a space world, and there was no way to start. Swish. At that moment, the outside world suddenly changed, and a strange aura poured in. A young man with a deathly aura was teleported inside. He had also successfully entered. Looking at this person, Su Yu was slightly vigilant. When they were hunting the great void beast, this person had glanced at him from afar, his eyes full of murderous intent. Moreover, Su Yu felt that this person was a little familiar, as if he had seen him somewhere before. After the deathly youth appeared, he also looked around. When he noticed Su Yu and Shui Guanyin, he was shocked at first, then his face turned cold, and his murderous intent was revealed. Brother Su Yu? What's wrong with this person? Shui Guanyin asked as she weaved signs with her hands. Since they had arrived at the Beishan Wang tripod, it meant that the assessment was over. Why did this person still look murderous? Su Yu shook his head. I don't know, but we cannot be hindered in our mission. He took out the Azura sword and pointed it at the other party. The deathly youth hugged the black iron sword and smiled coldly. Human, we meet again. But I didn't expect that the level 1 Cavern World Senior from back then had now become a strong contender for the Great Void Hidden Dragon. If the Queen knew about this, I wonder what she would think. He really did recognize him. Hearing the other party say the word Queen, Su Yu instantly remembered where he had seen this person. The civilization of the Sea of Constellations, a certain icy space in the Shui Nation of the Northern Territory. When he had first discovered the ice coffin of the female corpse, this person had chased after it, but inexplicably retreated halfway. So it's you, the Corpse Clan, Su Yu said. He had never thought that the other party would travel thousands of miles just to hunt him down. Under the orders of the Lord, I will bring your head back. The deathly youth pulled out the black iron sword. The sword was surrounded by an incomparably powerful deathly energy. Su Yu coldly snorted. No matter who sent you, since you are here, don't even think of leaving. The Azura sword trembled, and a thick demonic flame instantly ignited. As the two of them were about to fight, two unfamiliar auras entered. They were none other than Luotian and the beautiful woman. After Luotian appeared, she immediately captured the aura of the deathly youth. Staring at the black iron sword that the other party had pulled out, she said, the unique divine weapon of the Corpse Clan, the mystic skeleton black iron sword. No wonder the Crown Prince told me to kill you. He had seen through your identity as a member of the Corpse Clan. With a light snort, Luotian took out a pink peach blossom mirror and shone it in the air. The deathly youth was illuminated by the mirror. His whole body immediately emitted thick black smoke as if he was scalded. Frowning, the deathly youth dodged and said coldly, "Don't get in the way. You should know the consequences of opposing the Corpse Clan." Luotian's expression was solemn as she said, "Everyone is responsible for killing the Corpse Clan. Ziwei, I will take the lead. You find an opportunity to use the divine talisman that the Crown Prince gave you. You must kill this person." "Yes," the beautiful woman said. She glanced at Su Yu and Shui Guanyin, then quickly looked away. A complicated look filled her eyes. Shui Guanyin stared at her, her eyes also complicated. Empress Ziwei. The beautiful woman was naturally Empress Ziwei, who had left with the young girl and joined Bei Wangchen. One followed Bei Wangchen from the cloud stairs. The other had no one to rely on, walking alone in the ghost swamp. Different paths, but the destination was the same. Even the enemy they were dealing with now was the same. Shui Guanyin's lips curled up. Haha, looks like our paths are no different. Back then, the young housekeeper had said that her path would be different from theirs. Now, it seemed that there was no difference. Of course, Shui Guanyin would not forget that if it wasn't for Su Yu, she would have been eliminated in the first round of the assessment. Hence, as she looked at Su Yu's back, her eyes were especially gentle. Empress Ziwei was also a little unwilling. The former Shui Guanyin was not even half as good as she was, but now she was on equal footing. She took a deep look at Su Yu. Only an unfathomable man like him could have come all the way here while carrying a burden. An uncomfortable feeling lingered in her heart. She wanted to say something, but the enemy was right in front of her. She suppressed the words in her chest and said softly, "Let's kill the corpse clan first." 4 against 1, and there was a top expert like Luotian, who could kill a level 3 great void beast. Su Yu and Shui Guanyin looked at each other and attacked at the same time. Birth of the demon. Salvation of all living beings. Bone corpse subduing mirror. Meteorite ice tribulation. The strongest people of the great void hidden dragon attacked at the same time. The scene was earth-shattering. Even a level 3 great void beast would retreat in fright. The corpse clan youth held the mystic skeleton black iron sword in his hand. His face was full of death energy, and he wore a cold expression. "Hey, let me show you the supreme corpse technique of the corpse clan." Creak. The mystic skeleton black iron sword suddenly emitted countless white flames. The combination of the black sword and the white flames was extremely mysterious. Mountain of corpses, blood bones. With a sweep of the sword, endless white flames engulfed the sky and earth, sweeping in all directions. Su Yu's demonic flames, Shui Guanyin's merciful light, Luotian's corpse subduing mirror light, and Empress Ziwei's cold ice were instantly burned into nothingness by the white flames. In a trance, the 4 of them saw countless mountains of corpses, blood, and bones engulfing their attacks. Ziwei. Luotian's expression changed drastically, and she shouted anxiously. Empress Ziwei nodded and solemnly took out a talisman in the shape of a small golden sword. It contained a terrifying power of desolation. It was a talisman for the attack of a divine warrior of heaven and earth. The small sword flew out of her palm with a swoosh and turned into a golden light, slashing at the corpse clan youth. That sword was indomitable, and it would not turn back until it killed its target. Even though the target was not themselves, Su Yu and the others felt a sense of insignificance that made their hearts tremble. In front of this sword, there was no way they could escape death. However, the corpse clan youth's expression was cold and arrogant. "If the divine warrior of heaven and earth were to come in person, I would still be a little afraid. But what can a mere talisman do to me?" Boundless corpse domain. The corpse clan youth stabbed the mystic skeleton black iron sword into the ground. With the sword as the center, endless corpse energy immediately appeared, forming a dark, deathly silent area. This technique had a similar effect to Su Yu's white-haired corpse's boundless corpse domain. The small golden sword shot into it, and was immediately corroded and worn down by the black corpse energy. The indomitable small sword gradually lost its target, and finally began to rot, turning into a piece of waste paper stained with corpse energy. This scene made the eyelids of the 4 of them twitch. He resisted the blow of the divine warrior of heaven and earth with his own strength. The divine technique of the corpse clan was too strange and terrifying. "Next, it's my turn." The corpse clan youth laughed sinisterly, and the mystic skeleton black iron sword released a terrifying aura of death. The aura of death was so dense that just a breath was enough to kill an ordinary bronze overlord. If he were to slash out with the sword, how powerful would it be? Everyone's hearts were beating wildly. But at this moment, another unfamiliar aura surged in. Peach blossom trees grew one after another near the corpse clan youth. The brilliant peach blossoms actively absorbed the aura of death in the area, rotting and withering on their own. But the peach blossoms bloomed again, and the cycle continued to devour the aura of death. Chapter 1742. This person's divine technique just happened to restrain the corpse technique of the corpse clan. Crack. All of a sudden, an ancient peach tree 1,000 feet thick sprang up from the ground. On the tree sat a graceful and gorgeous woman. She had a faint smile on her lips, which contrasted well with the beautiful peach blossoms. After the woman appeared, she grabbed the air, and the ancient peach tree's withered branches were like a human's palm, immediately imprisoning the youth with the deathly energy. The youth shook his body, releasing the deathly energy and corpse energy at the same time, rotting the withered branches. But as the withered branches rotted, another withered branch grew, completely unafraid of the terrible corpse energy and deathly energy. There is more than one person from the corpse clan. The graceful woman was the Hahuan saint who had rushed over. With a flick of her fingertip, A sharp withered branch pierced into the body of the youth, extracting his essence. The youth's expression changed drastically. He kept struggling, but the more he struggled, the more withered branches entangled him. In just a moment, he was entangled like a dumpling, and his essence was frantically absorbed by the ancient peach tree. The four of them watched in shock. Such a powerful corpse clan was so easily subdued by the Hehuan saint. Or rather, her divine technique just happened to restrain the corpse clan. After subduing the youth with the deathly energy, the Hehuan saint's beautiful eyes turned to Su Yu. Her once charming face was filled with a sneer. "You really hid yourself well, to actually deceive all of us." Su Yu was slightly puzzled. What did she mean by hiding? Strength. He vaguely had a bad feeling about this. "Corpse clan," the Hehuan saint shouted coldly. "Capture him. I want to interrogate him personally." Shui Guanin's expression changed drastically, and she defended herself. "Brother Su Yu is a human, he can't be from the corpse clan." Empress Ziwei's lips moved, but she did not say anything to defend herself. She did not know why, but there was something inside her that prevented her from speaking. The Hehuan saint laughed coldly. How could it be false when Xiaoxie said it himself? She stared at Su Yu and shouted, "Among the three of you, if you don't capture him, you will be regarded as an accomplice of the corpse clan. After I suck this corpse clan dry, I will hunt you down to the end." The terrifying aura of a half-step divine warrior surged forward. The three of them shuddered. Only Shui Guanin clenched her teeth and stayed by Su Yu's side. Luotian's eyes flashed coldly as she stared at Su Yu and said, "I don't care if you are from the corpse clan or not, we will capture you first. If you dare to resist, we will kill you without mercy." As soon as she finished speaking, her figure flashed and she immediately attacked. 9 hearts linked. Before Su Yu could make his move, the images of the 9 blood Guanyin leaped up. Luotian sneered in disdain, "Insignificant tricks. Break." With a point of her finger, a powerful and extraordinary beam of light broke through all the figures and headed straight for Shui Guanin. "Out of the way!" Su Yu pushed him away and secretly used the heavenly orchid silver bamboo's fruit to devour the powerful light beam. At the same time, he swept out with his sword. Devil born from the heart. Luotian fell into a trance and fell into a daze. The Concord Saintess shouted, "Wake up!" Her tone contained a wondrous fluctuation that could suppress the absent-minded, causing Luotian to wake up in an instant and dodge the sword in time. Humph! Not a bad sword. Bewitching the mind and seizing the opportunity to strike. No wonder you could kill so many level 2 great void beast. The Concord Saintess said mockingly, "But it's a pity that you are displaying your slight skill in front of the Concord Holy Ground." Although the path of yin and yang of the Concord Holy Ground was the main path of cultivation, the bewitching and deciphering of bewitchment were also unparalleled in the world. "Thank you, Saintess." Luotian heaved a sigh of relief. She looked at Su Yu with a solemn and murderous look in her eyes. "You are courting death." Luotian's beautiful face was filled with murderous intent. She took out a small golden sword, which was a talisman given by Bei Wangchen. "Go." The small talisman sword rose into the air and immediately slashed at Su Yu. Su Yu remained motionless, secretly squeezing the fruit tightly. He wasn't worried about his own safety. He was worried about how to seize this giant cauldron. A powerful and illegal Luotian was enough. With the interference of the Concord Saintess, who was half a step away from the heaven and earth divine warrior, it would be even more difficult. The small golden sword sped all the way, slashing at Su Yu within 1,000 feet of him. Su Yu was prepared. The moment the small sword exploded with power, he would use the fruit to absorb all the power. However, to Su Yu's surprise, when the small sword was about to approach Su Yu, its trajectory suddenly changed. It brushed past Su Yu and shot towards the Concord Saintess. Explode. At the same time, Luotian recited a spell and activated the small sword. The Concord Saintess was caught off guard and was immediately engulfed by the explosive power. The ancient peach tree was blasted into pieces, and the body of the Concord Saintess was blown into countless pieces, leaving only a scream echoing in the air. The Concord Saintess was dead. A strange smile appeared on Luotian's beautiful face. "Haha, Saintess, I think you have misunderstood Xiaoxie's meaning. In fact, the other companion of the corpse clan that he pointed out was not Su Yu, but me. What? Shui Guanyin gasped. Empress Ziwei's expression changed drastically as well. She hurriedly stepped back and stared at Luotian with extreme vigilance. You are from the corpse clan? Aren't you afraid of the crown prince's wrath? Luotian turned to look at her and sneered. Poor thing, you have been brainwashed into a slave by Bei Wangchen. She could not be bothered with Empress Ziwei. With a light tap of her foot, the ancient peach tree that had been blasted into smithereens was blown away, revealing a figure standing within. The dead youth. Apart from a slight loss of essence, he was unharmed. Luotian said, the situation was unclear just now, so I had to attack you. Please forgive me if I have offended you. Now that the Concord Saintess had been eliminated, Luotian dared to treat him as a member of the corpse clan. The dead youth said, we are both people of the corpse clan, so it's all right. I still have to thank you for saving my life. May I know which faction of the corpse clan you are from? Luotian looked at Su Yu, then at Shui Guanyin. She smiled mysteriously. Just in case, you should kill me first. Let's talk later. The dead youth grinned and looked at Su Yu. Haha, Su Yu, you didn't expect this, did you? Su Yu really did not expect Luotian to be from the corpse clan. Now, two extremely powerful members of the corpse clan were in control of the current situation. Su Yu's mind raced. Should he just give up like this? He had no clue how to seize the Baishan King Cauldron. However, at that moment, Luotian walked towards the bronze statue and sized it up. The founding emperor of the Dayu Empire, a great talent of his generation. Unfortunately, he encountered us, the corpse clan. The civilization he founded is destined to become a stepping stone for the corpse clan. As she spoke, she flew to the hands of the statue and shone the Dao bone corpse subduing mirror on the hands. A surprising scene appeared. Between the hands, which were originally empty, was a purple gold box. Inside the box, a rich, colorful light overflowed. That was the destiny of the Dayu Empire. Haha, this is the real Baishan King Cauldron. Luotian's eyes were filled with greed. Master, if you refine this item, you can use the destiny of the Dayu Empire to become the Double Crown Emperor. The dead youth turned his head and stared at the item. Luotian was vigilant. She smiled faintly. You and I both have our own tasks. If we are delayed, neither of us will have a good time. Hearing this, the dead youth hesitated for a moment before giving up on the Baishan King Cauldron and focusing on Su Yu. Su Yu, you can die now. Su Yu's attention was not on him at all, but on the small cauldron. It turned out that this was the real Baishan King Cauldron. Su Yu was overjoyed. He had searched far and wide for it, only to find it by chance. However, Luotian had already begun to take away the Baishan King Cauldron. She carefully opened the purple gold box, and a small cauldron the size of a palm came into view. It was emitting colorful light. With a suction of her palm, she was about to suck the small cauldron away. Su Yu was far away, and with the dead youth in the way, she couldn't snatch it for a moment. Bang! Suddenly, Luotian was bounced off by a thick, dead wood. Who is it? Luotian froze and turned pale with fright. The dead youth was also shocked. He turned his head to look, and his face instantly became extremely ugly. From under the bronze statue, an even older peach blossom tree grew. At the top of the tree stood the Union Saint Lady, who should have been crushed to pieces. Su Yu's pupils shrank. Including this time, she had been resurrected inexplicably for the second time. You are not dead. Luotian was shocked. The Union Saint Lady's face was ice cold, and she was on the verge of a violent rage. Ha ha ha, your companion from the corpse clan was also surprised, so his essence was sucked dry, and so are you. Swoosh. Countless withered old branches whipped toward Luotian. Luotian's face changed dramatically, and she cried out in alarm, save me. The dead youth gritted his teeth, pulled out the mystic skeleton black iron sword, and cut off some branches. He shouted, you and I will join forces. If they did not join forces, they wouldn't even be able to escape. The Union Saint Lady said angrily, I will bury you together. At the same time, she looked at Su Yu and shouted, The corpse clan is the common enemy of all living creatures. I have misunderstood you before, and I will make it up to you. Now, help me kill 2 of the corpse clan. Shui Guanyin snorted. Humph. Didn't you swear before that brother Su Yu is from the corpse clan? Thinking of her previous arrogance and comparing it to her current attitude, Shui Guanyin felt quite proud. The Union Saint Lady said, "Shut up. I didn't ask you." Shui Guanyin was furious. She was about to refute, but Su Yu pressed down on her shoulder. He said, "She is right. With a great enemy in front of us, we should put aside our personal grudges for now." Pulling out the Shura sword, Su Yu stepped forward. The demon arises from the heart. With a slash of the sword, endless demonic fire enveloped everyone, including the Union Saint Lady. The Union Saint Lady was furious. How could you? Oh no, you want to steal the Bashan King Cauldron, she suddenly realized. But Su Yu had already taken the opportunity to flash in front of the bronze statue. Together with the purple gold box, he stored the Bashan King Cauldron in the 9-jade spiritual pearl. Let's go. Then, Su Yu used the power of space to move Shui Guanyin and Empress Ziwei in front of him. He immediately used the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole to teleport away. The Union Saint Lady was furious. How dare you trick me? She wanted to chase after him, but there were still 2 corpse clan members in front of her. She could only vent her anger on them. Die. Endless branches covered the sky and the earth, slowly wrapping them up. Finally, they were wrapped into 2 dumplings and hung on the peach tree. The Union Saint Lady was still angry. Damn brat. I don't believe you can escape. He could escape from the Taishu faction, but could he escape from Bei Wang Chen's grasp? Although there was only one Ao Xiong, he was no match for Su Yu. Chapter 1743. Leaping out of the giant cauldron, Su Yu crossed the island and arrived at the Great Void Gate. Outside the door, Bei Wang Chen was standing alone, looking down at the world with his head held high. Sensing the commotion from the Gate of Great Void, he looked down and said, "Eh? You're out so soon? Did you escape?" Whoosh! Su Yu brought the Blood Guanyin and Empress Ziwei out of the door of Great Void. "It's you." Ao Xiong's face was filled with displeasure. He had expected that Su Yu would be the first batch of stepping stones to be eliminated. Who would have thought that he would be able to escape alive? When he looked closely, he discovered that not only him, but the Blood Guanyin had also been brought out. More importantly, Empress Ziwei, whom he was quite fond of, had also been brought along. Leaving the Great Void Gate early would be considered as forfeiting. Empress Ziwei had lost the right to compete for the Great Void Hidden Dragon. What's going on? Ao Xiong glared at Empress Ziwei. Empress Ziwei's red lips parted, but she looked at Su Yu's face, who was right in front of her, and said, "I forfeit." "That's not like you." Ao Xiong shook his head coldly. Empress Ziwei lowered her head and said, "I have failed your highness. I am willing to accept the punishment." Looking up at the sky, Ao Xiong said in a low and deep voice, "Surrendering without a fight is what I hate the most. According to my rules, you should be expelled from my residence." Empress Ziwei's expression changed, and she pleaded, "Please show mercy, your highness. Ziwei is wrong. Ziwei doesn't want to leave Prince's side." That panicked expression was not fake at all. Su Yu and the Blood Guanyin were unfamiliar with it. Was she still the Empress Ziwei they knew? After pondering for a long time, Ao Xiong slowly said, "All right, I can make an exception for you this time. However, if you want to continue following me, then go to the life and death cliff to temper yourself. If you can come back alive, then I'll consider taking you in again. Otherwise, go back to wherever you came from." Life and death cliff. Empress Ziwei's face was slightly pale, and there was undisguised fear in her eyes. However, she still gritted her teeth and said, "All right, I'll go." Shui Guanyin was enraged and grabbed Empress Ziwei's collar. "What's wrong with you? How did it become like this?" The prideful goddess of the past was now humbly asking for shelter. She had always treated Empress Ziwei as her goal, and she was unable to accept the change in Empress Ziwei. Empress Ziwei glanced at her indifferently and said to Ao Xiong, "Prince, to tell you the truth, we came from the same civilization, and I wish to send you 2 friends off." "Approved." Ao Xiong waved his hands. In his eyes, There were only strong martial artists. He had no interest in a loser like Su Yu, who had voluntarily forfeited. In fact, even the killing intent they had towards him before had vanished into thin air. Such a person was not worth his time. Let's go. Empress Ziwei led them into the ghost swamp expressionlessly. When they reached the periphery of the ghost marsh, Empress Ziwei stopped in her tracks. She pulled out her ice sword and drew a long crack on the ground between her and Su Yu. Our relationship ends here. She was clearly drawing a line between them. Su Yu had long felt that Empress Ziwei was acting strangely. Now that he had drawn the line, he was not so shocked. However, Shui Guanyin sneered, "You're crazy. This is insane." "I'm not crazy." Empress Ziwei's expression was sober. "I just learned of my past self. How ignorant and insignificant I was. I should say that I'm awake." "Then what about the imminent crisis of the corpse clan in the Sea of Constellations? What about your teacher, the Emperor of Shui Yu?" Shui Guanyin asked. Empress Ziwei's expression was indifferent. "To you, the crisis of the Sea of Constellations civilization is greater than the heavens. But from the perspective of the Dayu Empire, it's just a small, insignificant wave in the vast ocean. I was once bound to the tiny civilization of the Sea of Constellations. Now that I've seen the Dayu Empire and the Emperor of men like Bei Wangchen, I've come to realize how narrow-minded I was in the past. My vision was limited to the tiny Sea of Constellations and the relationship between master and disciple." Su Yu was shocked by the cold words he uttered. What had she experienced? She had changed so much. After pondering for a long time, Su Yu said, "I don't think the Dayu Empire is everything, and I don't think Bei Wangchen is a dragon among men. There's always someone better than you. Your choice might not be wise, but I respect your decision, for the sake of your help." "Thank you," Empress Ziwei said proudly. "Helping you is just to write off all the favors you owe me. Besides, I believe my choice to follow Bei Wangchen will help me go further and higher." "Hehe, can he be more outstanding than Brother Su Yu?" Shui Guanyin snorted. Empress Ziwei shook her head and repeated Bei Wangchen's name with longing. "No, you'll never understand how powerful Bei Wangchen is. At first, I also thought Su Yu was the strongest heaven ruler I've ever seen. But it wasn't until I saw Bei Wangchen himself that I realized there was such an invincible emperor of heaven rulers in this world. In front of him, all the so-called geniuses are very cheap, including Su Yu." She had been deeply convinced by Bei Wangchen and changed her faith. Su Yu stared at her deeply and said, "I'll ask you one last time. Are you coming with me, or are you staying?" "Staying." Empress Ziwei's words were concise and decisive. "All right." Su Yu did not try to persuade her. He pulled Shui Guanyin along and turned to step into the ghost swamp, never looking back. Empress Ziwei looked at them. A complicated look flashed across her eyes, but it was finally replaced by a sense of decisiveness and ruthlessness. "Finally, let me remind you of something. My teacher, the Snow Dragon Emperor, is not as simple as you think," Empress Ziwei said. "We've been teacher for many years, and I've never gotten within 10 feet of him. Every time I tried to get close, he would find a way to distance himself." Hearing her reminder, Shui Guanyin did not take it to heart. She secretly despised Su Yu for betraying the Sea of Constellations and still daring to defame her teacher. Su Yu was the only one who remembered it. "Thank you." Su Yu took out the bronze carriage and disappeared into the depths of the ghost swamp. Outside the great void door, the Concord Saint Lady was carrying the dying Luotian and the lifeless youth. She said, "Crown Prince, capture 2 members of the corpse clan." Bei Wangchen snorted coldly. In the past tens of thousands of years, the nearby civilizations have not been peaceful. The shadows of the corpse clan have appeared from time to time. Even the Dayu Empire has corpse clan members. Did they sneak into the Beishan King Cauldron to steal it? Yes. The Concord Saint Lady said. Bei Wangchen's eyes were cold. Is the cauldron safe? It's not safe. It has been stolen. The Concord Saint Lady's face was gloomy. Bei Wangchen's pupils shrank. What did you say? Who stole it? Su Yu. Him. Bei Wangchen was obviously stunned for a moment. He immediately flew into a rage. Chase him. His face was extremely gloomy. Someone had stolen the important Bashan King Cauldron right under his nose. The Concord Saint Lady had a cold smile on her face. She said, "Crown Prince, use my peach blossom treasure mirror. No matter how fast he is, he can't outrun this treasure. Let's go now," Ao Seong said. A giant peach blossom blossomed, carrying the two of them straight toward Su Yu. A few days later, Su Yu ran along the path he came from. He was familiar with the path, and in just a few days, he had crossed the 1-month journey. He would be able to leave the Dayu Empire in half a month. "This is where I met the 9th prince of the Bashan King's mansion, North Wangting. I wonder how he is now," Shui Guanyin recalled. Only a few days had passed, but it felt like years. Su Yu's eyes flickered. He remembered that North Wangting had said that they had been attacked by evil spirits in the Sky City. The evil spirits' target was the Bashan King Cauldron. It seemed that Xiaoxia and Luotian, who had infiltrated the group, were one of the evil spirits. But where was the evil spirit of the divine warrior of heaven and earth? While he was thinking, Su Yu seemed to have sensed something. He released his heavenly eyes to investigate behind him. His face could not help but sink. As expected, they have caught up. Turning his gaze, Su Yu changed the direction of the bronze carriage and headed straight for the most dangerous central area of the Ghost Marsh. "Brother Su Yu, are they pursuing us?" But the central area of the Ghost Marsh is no joke. No one dares to cross the central area. The Ghost Marsh was known as a land of no return, largely because of how terrifying the central area was. It is precisely because of this that there is a need to go. Su Yu's eyes flickered. 2 days later, they arrived at the central area of the Ghost Marsh. A peach blossom bloomed in front of them and rapidly multiplied, turning millions of miles of mountains and rivers into a beautiful illusory formation. "Hihi, you have fallen into my hands again." Saint Concord giggled charmingly. Su Yu's expression was indifferent. He was not surprised at all. With their strength and magical treasures, it was only a matter of time before they caught up with Su Yu. Ao Seong looked at Su Yu coldly, his whole body surging with murderous intent. There is no need to beg for mercy, because it is useless. Since ancient times, the creatures who have attacked the Bashan King Cauldron have either died or died in the process of dying. You are no exception. Do you need my help? Saint Concord asked. Ao Seong said coldly, "When I fight, I do not need outsiders. Stand aside." Ao Seong crossed his arms in front of his chest and landed on the ground. He stared at Su Yu. "You have 2 choices. Return the Bashan King Cauldron when you are alive, or I will take it when you are dead. Is there a difference?" Su Yu asked. Ao Seong smiled proudly. "Of course there is. The former can be killed by me personally, while the latter can only die after being hit by me countless times. One would die a quick death, the other a painful death." This was the choice Ao Seong had given Su Yu. No matter what, he could not escape death. Shaking his head, Su Yu said, "If you were to come here in person, I might still be a little afraid of you. But if you're just a mere prime minister, perhaps that won't be enough." "Arrogant," Ao Seong said. "In front of me, you have no right to be arrogant." Su Yu put away the Azura sword without batting an eyelid and took out the royal dragon sword. As soon as the sword appeared, it immediately burst forth with a terrifying dragon's might. After being tempered by the dragon power in the dragon pearl, Su Yu grasped the royal dragon sword even more easily. Although it was still difficult to wield the sword, it was far better than before. Slash. Su Yu used all the energy in his body to slash out half a style. However, even this half a style erupted with the terrifying power of a divine warrior of heaven and earth. Ah! Saint Concord was caught off guard. She was engulfed by the enormous dragon's might and died on the spot. Even Ao Seong gritted his teeth and roared angrily, "What qualifications do you have to deserve such a divine sword? Give it to me." Ao Seong was indeed incomparably powerful. He had actually withstood the dragon's might and seized the royal dragon sword. Su Yu was unmoved. He merely waved his wrist slightly, and an even more majestic dragon's might burst forth. Puff! Finally, Ao Seong could not bear it any longer. He spat out blood and was sent flying. Su Yu's eyes were filled with an icy light. He grasped the sword and chased after Ao Seong, slashing head-on. This slash was meant to destroy the extraordinarily powerful Ao Seong. However, at the critical moment, two fingers shot out from the slanted ground and strangely flicked the Royal Authority Dragon Sword, blocking the unstoppable sword. At the same time, an unusually old voice floated into his ears.